Welcome in, everybody. I do not understand why my stream is doing this jittery thing. I don't understand why it's doing the jittery thing. Saying I've got low bit rate. I don't get why it's doing that. I mean, I just started it, just got it all up. Haven't been running anything on my computer. Should be nothing interfering with it. Nothing else is running in my household. What's up with my internet? Anyway, welcome in. Hope you had a beautiful weekend. Yes, still in the shadow because the light's behind me, and not back in the studio. And I was gone all weekend, or it would have been completed. I went to my mom's house and worked on floors and trim around her floors, and helped move a couple of vehicles at my daughter's house. So, was not here to finish my floors. So I need to get that done. Welcome in, Cockroach. Good to see you. Okay, good morning, Pastor and chat. Welcome in. Glad to have you here, friend. All right, so let me turn these off so I don't have to wear those all the time. They're convenient, but I don't know. Sometimes they just feel like a nuisance, just like earbuds do. They feel like a nuisance, so I'm happy to get those out when I'm not needing them. So, wow, and I'm just noticing there is so much glare from so many lights in so many directions in this room. It's not good. It's not good. I'm sorry. It's not the quality I expect of myself. Here, I've been professional, not a streamer for several years, just a little while. And you mess it up on a daily basis. It's not a good thing. It's not a good look. But you don't come here to watch perfection. I know that. It's just more news. Okay, so now it's telling me my bit rate has gone down, but my stream quality is excellent. How does that make sense? My bit rate is slower and my stream quality is now excellent. I don't understand you, Twitch. Clearly, I do not understand you. How are you doing, Cockroach? How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun or exciting? Like I said, I moved vehicle, moved another vehicle. It had not moved in 3 years. Well, the other one probably would have been longer. Hadn't been moved in longer. Loaded on trailers, out the door, worked on some floor, and stood around and watched some people move a mill that was quite heavy and get that loaded on a flatbed truck and out the door. So, bum, bum, bum. Let's take a look at, and this happens sometimes, so I don't know what it is. I'm going to unplug and replug it in and see if that fixes it. My Stream Deck is not working today. Okay, will this do it? No, that didn't do it. Okay, don't know why that's not working. You had a relaxing kind of weekend. Didn't really do anything. Had men's breakfast Saturday, church with potluck dinner yesterday. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. And speaking of that, I should think about that. I know that there is a men's group that meets on Saturdays. I have not participated in it. It's not my church, but it doesn't mean I would not be welcome. I just have not gone over there. So let me find. Let's take a peek outside. And since today is the day of the total eclipse, I did have a thought, and it'll depend. I will see about this, of getting one of my cams set up outside, and if it will work, then I'll go live with the eclipse cam. But if I can't get it lined up so that you can actually see it from my house, I won't waste time to broadcast. So if you suddenly see a eclipse cam going live later today, that would be why. So we're just peeking outside. Does not appear that the cam at my mom's house, there's clouds. Probably no view of the eclipse. It doesn't look like it. Also, that cam right there that's as high as it will go. I can't tilt that cam any higher. You can tilt it down. some of the cams, you know, go one way or the other. So the way it's mounted, right there, that's the height. That's it. The one in the backyard, and it might be on the wrong side of the house to view the eclipse. Oh, come on, why are you not showing me? Anyway, there we go. I can go that high. Not that much higher. So I might take one of these other cams. The cams that are on the fish tanks are not mounted anywhere, so they could go outside. Oh, and that one's just in the room there. That one easily could go outside. So just have to make sure they are close enough to get internet connection and mount it where it can see the sun. So I might do that. I don't know. Are my alerts off again? Raid coming in. I did not. Why are my alerts off? Why? What is going on with my alerts? Sorry, everybody coming in with the raid. I apologize. My alerts aren't working. My stream deck's not working. Let me get my raid song up here. Got to do it the old-fashioned way and click on it. Thank you, Lord, for this great day. Thank you, Lord, for this great day. Thank you, Lord, for this great day, right where we are. Thank you, Lord, for this great raid. Thank you, Lord, for this great raid. Thank you, Lord, for this great raid, right where we are. Thank you, Raiders. All right. Let's go there. Okay. I think it's 2:30 or later is when I figure I'll look at noon and take a look and a peek at noon. So Hank 40 or 90, sorry, Hank 59. Hello, welcome in with the raid. Thank you, friend. Thank you. All those coming over with the raid, let me know what it is about ukulele that you enjoy so much. Wade Mock, it's raining where you are, so the eclipse is going to be pretty spotty, if at best. Coffee Lady, I would have thought you'd followed me already. Well, welcome and thanks for the follow, friend. I'm watching you people, Miss Kel Taylor. I love God's sense of humor. I can see him making these guys totally overcast, even the debris of the universe completely covering the sight of the sun for the entire time of the eclipse. I wonder if he's in heaven rolling his eyes and everybody losing their mind about the planet a lot. Yeah, I really am not that super excited about it and don't understand why everybody's making a super big deal. Eclipses happen on a regular basis, and I don't understand whoop-de-doo if it's total or not total. Hey, Bearded Beowulf, welcome in. Welcome in. And making the skies totally orchestra. Yeah, yeah. If you don't know, like I watched a video on the alignment stuff of how eclipses work. It was really, really cool. It was really, really cool. So at one of the 2 points during the year when an eclipse can happen, the sun, or in position of the moon is bigger and closer and blocks out more of the sun. And the other half of the year, if it's a fall type of eclipse, it's not a full eclipse because it can't fully block the sun. I'm like, wow, interesting. That's kind of cool. So more of the science is interesting to me than the looking at it, because frankly, video pictures from somebody who's in a different location look way better than I've ever been able to see with the naked eye. Oh wait, no, you have to have glasses on. Don't look without glasses. I know I did from Nice and Stream. Not sure what Twitch did. Yeah. I thought so. Anyway, welcome in, Raiders. Glad to have you here. This is not the original setup. This is fake behind me. Watch what happens when I lift my mug. It disappears. It disappears. But anyway, welcome in, friends. Glad to have you here. Galaxy, good to see you. Good to see you. I was showing you cams perhaps when you came in. If I can get back over to that. Oh my goodness. There's the baby koi that are growing. There is the stream room under reno. There is looking across at Canada. and looking out my backyard. So I was saying, if it works, I might put the eclipse stream up, and that would be maybe starting at 2 o'clock EST. But it depends on where it's at, because I think it starts at 11 a.m. in Texas, and then by the time it gets to where I'm at, so those kinds of things. So anyway, wow, it's showing you that. That's weird. Don't need to show you that. Let's do this. There we go. I'm good reading the Bible and drinking coffee. How are you? Oh, Bearded Bay. Well, thank you. Yes. Oh, you're talking to Galaxy. But anyway. And I've been doing some VODs. So one of the things I'm noticing. Okay. Let me just put a poll in here. I mean, I could go look at the stats because it'll actually tell me. But let me just put a poll. Because, new poll. Yeah, like, okay, there we go. Device that you watch. Computer or phone? That's all I'm wondering. Computer or phone? And start the poll. So just wondering, what device are you watching on? Because I have set up my cam here and the Bible, so that if you're on your phone, you should hopefully still be able to read the Bible while you are following along as we read through the Bible. However, when I'm using the new format that I was using for making clips, it just keeps this format. It can't shrink and expand it. It doesn't give me good enough quality to be able to do that. So I was thinking of rearranging all of that and doing it differently so that it would be more beneficial to making clips. But I don't know. I'm exploring that and just getting some input. So Coffee Lady, we're forecast clouds, lots of them. I'm in the path of totality, but likely won't see it. Yeah, I heard somebody was like this. There was a news story. They were going from Boston to Texas and all excited, and they'd booked this and all that. This was like a week or more ago. And then as it's gotten closer, where they were going in Texas, I heard, is going to be totally overcast, and you won't be able to see it. So I'm like, wow, how good do you feel spending money on airline tickets in a hotel to see something that you won't be able to see? Elaine, welcome in, friend. Welcome in. Probably Twitch doesn't like me today. Can't see the vote, but I'm on phone. Oh, okay. Well, sometimes they don't show up on phone. So there you go. Okay, most of you are on computer. Okay. Okay. Someone posted that we should all go purchase. Oh, sorry, disappeared on me. Oh yeah. Fill them with helium and release them, telling everyone the rapture happened. Yeah, I heard about that. My mom was telling me that. You're in South Georgia, so you won't see it. Can't vote because I can't see it either. Okay. Well, that must be you people that are on phones can't vote. So this is kind of a skewed vote then, isn't it? All right. Anyway, those of you who have not been here, whether we're reading in the Bible, and whether you're watching the VODs or not, I don't mean by here, like while I'm live. I mean, you just were not here when we covered the material, and you haven't watched the VOD yet about it. We talked about Balaam and Balaam's donkey last week. And one of the things that I did over the weekend was, well, I binged podcast because, well, I had a 5-hour drive. So that's what I do. I binge podcast when I'm driving. So binge podcast 5 hours there, binge podcast 5 hours on the way back. And they covered Balaam's donkey. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Great. Because we just covered it. And I was asking questions about, like, it appears like Balaam goes to God and says, hey, should I go do this? And then God says no. And then he asks again, and God says, sure. And then he goes, and the angel comes against him. So I had a little bit more information about historical Balaam. So Balaam is one of the people in Scripture that we have information about outside of Scripture that he's recorded. And so the interesting thing is it's what it appears to be is he was, as it read in the story, like he was for hire. He was out for money. He was out to do whatever benefited him. So you could hire him out. Whoever paid the most money, he'd curse the other team, that kind of thing. He did divination to be able to have access to do that. It's well known. Well, what it appears to be is he was not following God. He just got in contact with God because he didn't care which God he got in contact with, the lesser gods or the one true God. So when he contacted the real God and God said, hey, don't, he was like, okay, I won't. But he didn't take that as a definitive answer. So that's why he kept going and asking. And then when God said, do what you want, he's like, okay, I'll go. Instead of a follower of God would have said, you already told me no. The answer is no. You didn't tell me I can go now. I should not go. So it's more a matter of he happened to get in contact with the true God because God made it clear to him, you can't curse these people. You're not going to be permitted to do this. So that really has more to do with it. Like I was thinking along the lines of, it's kind of like when you tell your kid, no, 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 and then finally you're just like, do what you want, even though you don't want them to do it. That's why God was angry when he went. And it also, they talked a little bit about, too, the whole doing it 3 times in the, on this mountain, that mountain, another mountain. Well, the last mountain is actually a mountain where there's a connection with the dead. And so there's connection on the 3 mountains of connecting to different gods. So maybe the God who's preventing you from being able to do it won't be able to do it here. So it's not a matter of, it's not working. Why do you keep trying it? No, they're trying to outmaneuver God and get out of God's range of preventing them and be able to still do that. And then we had, how he says, well, you go tempt them this way and do all of that. So anyway, I learned some new stuff, and I just wanted to share some of that with you, which was really cool. And that is the Two Trees podcast. There's a link over on my Discord if you're interested in that podcast. All right, looks like 75% are on computer. That makes sense. Let me get caught up on chat while I was telling you my story. And you're just chatting about you can't see it on the phone. Lurk, will listen, but need to get ready for the day. Coffee Lady, appreciate that. Thanks for the lurk. Watching you people with the hugs. I love giving out hugs. Hey, Smoking, welcome in, friend. Okay, and good morning, everyone. You know what? I have not seen that full alligator one. Nice. I've not thought about doing those. I know there's a couple in the regular Twitch ones where you combine things. That's an interesting thought to do that. I don't have any open spots right now. I have lots of spots taken, but I like that. It's fine. You can have it. No, I just meant the whole concept of putting them together there. That's cool, man. That's cool. All right. So Bible in a year. We did not start Deuteronomy last week. We delayed our start to Deuteronomy so that we could get caught up and a bit ahead in Luke. So today we would be Luke 12, but we have 10 chapters of Deuteronomy to get through. So we're going to start Deuteronomy and tackle that because we finished Numbers last week. We finished the book of Numbers. It's interesting. Chomp my emotional support alligator. Okay. It's Investigator Chomp. Investigator. I see what you did there. Very nice, friend. Okay. Anyway, I was asking that question earlier because I think what I might do is make my screen bigger, make the words on screen smaller, maybe try to center them so that if it centers the clips that it makes, I'll be able to use them. As and look better than, like, when you put this on a phone in a vertical, it's really tiny. And it's like you can't even see the words on screen real well. So I just don't think that they're great as far as when I'm making clips. I'm getting clips, but I'm not loving the way that they're editing them, and I can't manage that afterwards. When I export them, the quality's not good enough. So there you go. All of my problems are now out in the open for everyone to know about. Real world problems, not even close. Okay, so the book of Deuteronomy. I don't remember where Deuteronomy starts off, but it says the command to leave Horeb. The command to leave Horeb. Okay. This is one of those things, too, that I was listening to talking about the geography of where places are and the names that they change to, and that from the Old Testament to later in the Old Testament to the New Testament. I do not have a good grasp on that. I would say, unfortunately, now, I'm a geography person, okay? So I took extra classes in college on geography. I could have had a geography minor. I just figured, what in the world would I ever do with a geography minor? It's not a real world applicable skill to have. Yes, this was before GPS and all that stuff. So I don't know if I'd have done it with all that. But I do like geography. But going through seminary, there never was a geography class on the Bible. I would have loved it. I spent time studying different things, but I don't have a grasp. Like when it says Mount Horeb, I have no idea where Mount Horeb is. I have to go look it up every time. I just they're not, and then you have a different name for Mount Horeb somewhere else besides Horeb, so you forget it. Anyway, what I was mentioning is one of the podcasts talked about where Hannah is from, and Hannah is the one who has Samuel, and the region where she is in and where she's from is also the same region that Deborah was from, and then is also the same region and location where the woman at the well was. And so they were making some whole really cool geographic connections between those three ladies, and the fact that while those three women are prominent and they speak out and they're connected with God, the world around them seems to not be. And Hannah, if you did not know this is really cool stuff. Hannah is the first one to use the word Messiah. She is the first one to say that God's Messiah will come, and the woman at the well is the first one to announce the Messiah has come. Or when she goes to town and say, could this be the Messiah? She really is pronouncing it, but she is making an invitation to people. So Hannah's the first one to foretell the Messiah, and the woman at the well is the first one to declare that the Messiah has come. So that was really cool. The invaders from Assyria and to Babylon, to Greek, to Rome, they all changed names of the area. I know, Wade, yeah. So that's one of the problems that I have from OT to New T is they've never, I shouldn't say they've never, I have never come across a good Bible that has maps. They have maps, but they're not great, and or has footnotes that says, by the way, like this is what I would do. Like here, Mount Horeb, I would have a footnote that would say, this was also named this, and those mountains are mentioned here. So that's one of the things I've not done that I need to get better is my biblical geography of where places are. I've been focused, for a long time on the name meaning, not the location. So just thinking, new aspect I need to. Bible ladies matter. Oh, 100%. 100%. You should write your own Bible. I will not. If I got invited to participate with it, sure. A solo project, no. I don't think you should do a Bible project solo. Yes, rabbits. Yes, we'll get to the Bible. This is all related. But thanks for the rabbit trail. Yes, yeah. I know what you meant. Well, it's more a matter of here's what I would do. I would have the meaning of names and the footnote tell you the actual name. I would make you read the meaning of names and put footnotes for what the name is, or put it in parentheses. And I would do the same with locations. Is put footnotes so you would know it's also later called this. Cliff notes. Yeah. See what I did there? Yeah, I did. Okay. let's jump into Deuteronomy and see if we can get 10 chapters in a day of such a fantastic book that people are clamoring to read. I mean, aren't people just going, oh my goodness, I was just sitting with the book of Deuteronomy over the weekend and had such a joyous time reading about everything going on in there. And your friends go, tell me, I love that book. Oh, it was so wonderful. My favorite chapter is, yeah, that's how that goes. That's how that goes. Okay. These are the words Moses spoke to all Israel in the wilderness east of Jordan. That is in the Arabah, opposite Sup, between Paran and Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Dizahab. It takes 11 days to go from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by the Mount Seir road. That's an interesting fact to just suddenly throw in there. 11, why 11 days? I mean, probably factual, but 11 days, like, why are you telling me 11 days? Oh, there was also another thing that got pointed out in, that I had missed. So we went through Numbers, and as we go through Numbers, there were rebellions that were going. I had not seen this, and I did not know this. There are seven, dun, 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 the number of completeness. There are 7 rebellions in the book of Numbers. And they are in a chiastic structure, which means there's a parallel between the first one and the last one, between the second one and the 6th one, between the 3rd one and the 5th one, and the 4th one in the middle is the different one, and that's when the earth opened up and swallowed all of those that rebelled with Korah. So we have 7 rebellions in the book of Numbers. There's a totality of rebellion against God and against Moses and against Aaron. I'm like, wow, I'd never noticed that or seen that. So, yeah, I think that's the end of the stuff I learned that I did not know and wanted to make sure I shared with all of you today. Okay, so 11 days. I'm pondering why 11 days. Something about that is telling me I need to pay attention to 11. Why 11? I don't know 11 for some reason. Okay, in the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month. Oh, there 11 shows up again. So it takes 11 days. It's the 11th month. Moses proclaimed to the Israelites all the Lord had commanded him concerning them. This was after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, and at Idrei had defeated Og, king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. Welcome in, Johnny Darko. Morning, friend. Morning. East of the Jordan in the territory of Moab, Moses began to expound this law, saying, okay, so we have them. We're picking up at the end of Numbers. They're ready to go in the land. And Moses is going to recount the story of everything to the people. That's what it looks like. He's going to expound the story. So we're going to stay here. Moses is going to retell us everything that's already happened that we already know. The Lord our God said to us at Horeb, you have stayed long enough at this mountain. Break camp and advance into the hill country of the Amorites. Go to all the neighboring peoples in the Arabah, in the mountains, in the western foothills, in the Negev, and along the coast to the land of the Canaanites, and to Lebanon as far as the great river Euphrates. See, I have given you this land. Go in and take possession of the land the Lord swore he would give to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to your descendants after them. Okay, so it's time to go. Mountain, Ben lurking, making breakfast. Hey, good to see you, friend. Hope you had a good weekend. I heard you didn't get your chicken. I heard that part, but I didn't hear much about the rest of your weekend. So I hope the rest of it was good. At that time, I said to you, you are too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. So this is going all the way back to Sinai when his father-in-law showed up. We're going all the way back there. Oh, were there any people in these lands before they take them? Yes, there are people in these lands. So what we covered last week was they're trying to go into the land. And a few people have said you can't go through our territory. And we have the story of Balaam where the Moabites, the Midianites, were coming against them. And so they've defeated the Ammonites, the Midianites, the Moabites on some level, taken some of their land, and now they're getting ready to cross the Jordan, but there are people in the land. Mountain, got back to work on Sunday, but other than that, was sick. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that, friend. But if you're back to work and you're feeling better, I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. But good question, Schizo, about if there are people in the land. There are people in the land. And one of the things that's mentioned in a couple of places was that God was going to drive the people out in front of you. And it talks about like the hornet and other animals like doing the work of God so that you wouldn't have to fight. And when they were lined up and searched the land before, they said there were giants in the land and the people got scared and didn't go in. That's why they wander in the desert for 40 years. So, good questions. Good questions. Okay. At that time I said to you, you are too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. The Lord your God has increased your numbers, so that today you are as numerous as the stars in the sky. Why is that phrase important? Because that phrase was a phrase given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that you, well, at least to Abraham for sure, that your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. It was a promise, so now Moses is identifying it as fulfilled, because you are as numerous as the stars in the sky. Therefore, God's promise has been fulfilled. Therefore, the other promises about the land given to you will also be fulfilled. Smoking. That was the 7 altars, and the guy wouldn't listen when God spoke to the other guy. Sorry, awful with names. Oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, you're right. It was the guy making the altars trying to curse, and he wouldn't listen. Yep, it was that story. So, and then they got defeated afterwards. Like the story of Balaam talking about all the work that he did that ended up for blessing, and then the story of defeating is really just a little kind of like, and so they defeated him, and here's a list of people that they defeated. Funny because Lusa says they didn't take over the land for 40 years. God gave those people from the land grace. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing, too, is God doesn't just wipe out those people and leave the land vacant. They are going to go in, and then when they do defeat them, there will be vineyards and houses and cities. Because think about this. If you're going in to defeat an enemy and there's no place to live and no food to eat, what good did it do you to take over? So we'll notice that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He gave them grace for 40 more years. Well, he also gave them grace, too, if we go back and look at Abraham, because he says that their sin has not fully come about and their judgment is not here, so it's not time to take the land. It will be later on that their judgment will come. So he really gave them 400 years. So... was it a Thanos snap situation? Just kidding. Had time to find somewhere to go. Yeah. That would be. Well, and you know what? God could, but you know, how does that bless people? I don't think it does. It only blesses the snapper, you know, in some way. Wade. They did not conquer the Jebusites till David showed up, so they could build their temple. There are some other clans within there, too. There's a list of, I want to remember if it's 5 or 7, no, it's 6. 6 that keep getting mentioned that you need to destroy. The Jebusites were not in that list, Wade. So if we go back to the list of the land of the Hittites, the whatever, there's a list of 6 names. The Jebusites, I don't think, are in that list. Are they? Let me know, Wade. And Skirt Savage, good morning. Good morning. I missed somebody else's. Thought I missed someone else coming in. Maybe not. Maybe not. That was just you. Good morning. Or, sorry, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Savage 23. Okay. So numerous as the stars is a fulfillment. So that's why it's being put in the story. So that we remember God is fulfilling. God has fulfilled this part. What other parts is he going to fulfill? Is the rest of the story leading to telling us about more fulfillment? Okay. May the Lord, the God of your ancestors, increase you 1,000 times and bless you as he has promised. But how can I bear your problems and your burdens and your disputes all by myself? Choose some wise, understanding, and respected men from each of your tribes, and I will set them over you. You answered me. What you propose to do is good. Okay, so what's interesting here, Moses is retelling this. When we read through this story in the book of Exodus, it's Jethro, his father-in-law, that comes along. Jethro is the one who suggests it. Moses goes to God with it, and God says it's okay to go do this. Here, Moses has left Jethro out of the story entirely. Does that mean Jethro didn't do it? No. No. He's just retelling the story in a shorter fashion, not going to all the details, not talking about his father-in-law. He's just saying, remember, this is how we set it up. It was proposed, and you agreed to it. So I just noticed, as we retell stuff in Deuteronomy, there are changes in the telling of the story. So when we get to the New Testament, and there's a purpose for Matthew's gospel, and John has a different purpose, and he tells the story differently, he's not telling it and making something else up. He's telling the story in a different way at a different time to a different group of people. So that's all I wanted to point out there. Okay. So I took the leading men of your tribes, wise and respected, and appointed them to have authority over you, as commanders of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and as tribal officers. And I charge your judges at that time, hear the disputes between your people and judge fairly, whether the case is between two Israelites or between an Israelite and a foreigner residing among you. Do not show partiality in judging. Hear both the small and the great alike. Do not be afraid of anyone, for judgment belongs to God. Bring me the cases too hard for you, and I will hear it. And at that time I told you everything you were to do. Some think the Jebusites were absorbed into one of the Levite orders as the Zadokites. The area they controlled was the Temple Mount. David bought the threshing floor from one of them. Yep, I remember that. They conquered them, but they allowed them to remain if they would help. Okay, that makes sense. One of the other things, that's what I was mentioning, there are six nations that are mentioned specifically that are the land, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the I can't remember all the names, but when we come across it, I'll point it out. But there's six that are listed. There are six that are listed, and those are the ones that have giant clans within them, and so they need to be wiped out because going all the way back to Genesis 6, and the judgment time has come. And we did have some on the east side. So the tribes that they defeated on the east side of the Jordan also were considered to have giants within those clans. So that's the clans that are being cleansed from the land, are those. Another name for Salem was Jabus. I did not remember that, Wade. I do remember Salem. See, that's one of the things, like name changing, and I'm good with probably remembering one name, but when you give me the alternate names, I don't always remember it. Like, it's taken me years to remember that Barnabas's name is Levi. Like, it mentions it one time in passing. There was someone named Levi who goes by Barnabas. Now we're all only going to call him Barnabas the rest of the story. It's like, what is Moses' Hebrew name? We're never told Moses' Hebrew name, ever. And then we just had, like, only in the recounting of a genealogy, at the end of the book of Numbers, did we have Moses' parents' names. So there is an inner part of Jerusalem in the city of David. That is the inner place David overtook. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and he pays for it. He doesn't want it given to him, and he's offered to have it for free, and he's like, no, I'll pay for it. How can I give to God what someone gave to me? It needs to cost me something. So. Why wouldn't they give the name also who gave him the name? Oh, smoking. So, at the beginning of the book of Exodus, it just says there was a Hebrew boy that was born. He's 3 months old. He's placed in a basket in the river. So they never name him. From that standpoint, he's never mentioned by a name that's other than the name Moses. And the daughter of Pharaoh draws him out of the water and calls him Moses. And it says that Moses sounds like the word for draw out. So he was drawn out of the water. She rescued him, therefore named him Moses. I happen to have another theory. There's a set of pharaohs called Tutmosis, and I think that her dad might have been Tutmosis. So I think she's also naming him Moses after her father, one of the Tutmosises. But that I am in the minority that thinks that the Exodus happens under the Tutmosises. The prominent is Ramesses because, well, that's what everybody has made prominent. And, well, the people, it says in the book of Exodus, come out of the city of Ramesses, and they built the city of Ramesses. So it has to be that that's where they were at. Well, I don't think it has to be that. It could have been named that later. And so they didn't bother to give us the other name of that city, and we know where that one is. So, good question, Smokin'. Good question. And Moses is so prominent, and he is known as Moses, so maybe there was never a need to list his name, and maybe he never knew his name, or maybe his parents didn't give him a name. I mean, there could be more to that we just don't know. Okay. Then the Lord our God commanded us. We set out from Horeb, and we went toward the hill country of the Amorites through all the vast and dreadful wasteland that you have seen. And so we reached Kadesh Barnea. Then I said to you, you have reached the hill country of the Amorites, which the Lord our God is giving to us. See, the Lord your God has given you the land. Go up and take possession of it as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, told you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Notice this phrase starts here. This phrase starts here to the people. We think about be strong and courageous is the phrase that he says to Joshua. No, don't be afraid and don't be discouraged. Starts with the people. I don't think Moses says this to Joshua because Joshua needs it. He says it to Joshua so the people are reminded of it. But anyway, then all of you came to me and said, let us send men ahead to spy out the land for us and bring back a report about the route we are to take and the towns we will come to. Okay, so this sounds like in Moses' retelling that it was a request of the people to go spy out the land. When we read through it in the book of Exodus, it doesn't read that way. It reads like it's Moses' idea to do that, or it's God's idea to do that. It doesn't sound like it's the people. So notice how in the telling of Deuteronomy, it's a retelling of the whole story. It's giving a different perspective. The idea seemed good to me, so I selected 12 of you, one man from every tribe. Okay, I'm still focused on, we had the 11 happen earlier. Now we're to 12. They left and went up into the hill country, and they came to the valley of Eshcol, and they explored it. Taking with them some of the fruit of the land, they brought it down to us and reporting, it is a good land that the Lord our God is giving us. But you were unwilling to go up. You rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You grumbled in your tents and said, the Lord hates us, so he brought us out of Egypt to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us. Where could we go? Our brothers have made our hearts melt in fear. They say the people are stronger and taller than we are. The cities are large, the walls up to the sky. We even saw the Anakites there. This is descendants of giants. Then I said to you, do not be terrified. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God, who was going before you, will fight for you. as he did for you in Egypt before your very eyes and in the wilderness. There you saw how the Lord your God carried you as a father carries his son all the way you went until you reached this place. In spite of this, you did not trust the Lord your God, who went ahead of you on your journey in fire by night, in a cloud by day, to search out places for you to camp and to show you the way you should go. How big were the Amorites? Well, okay, we have some issues with ancient people used letters of the alphabet to distinguish numbers. And so we also have a measuring system that a cubit in one measurement is different than a cubit in another measurement. So we're never quite sure which cubit you're using. The Egyptian cubit, or I think it's the Hittite is the other cubit. Whether it's 18 inches or whether it's 13 inches or whether it's 20 inches. I can't remember what the other one is. I know one is 18. I don't remember what the other is, if it's bigger or smaller. But all those make a difference. All those make a difference. But essentially, potentially 8 feet tall is a good reasonable 7-8 foot tall, a foot and a half taller than anyone else, whatever that might be. You also have all of these peoples around who have stories and mythologies about their leaders being descendants of a god and a human having offspring. Much like if you know the prominence in Greek mythology of Zeus, just feeling attracted to women on the earth and sowing his royal oats and having half God children. That's what all of this is relating to, and that all goes back to Genesis 6. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. So, yeah, mountain, probably like your height. Like, yeah, smoking, like hands, on a horse. You're measuring, like, with an inaccurate measurement that everyone's a slightly different. Imagine a giant Shoney's big boy. Oh, yes. Regardless, like Andre the Giant or the Undertaker, if you're into WWE, like menacing guys like that. The largest people that are around on the planet today, and you're a nice average 5-foot person, thereabouts. 5'2" would have been maybe, a couple thousand years ago. People were closer to 5 foot in some cases, not 6 feet like a lot of places are today. So you have that going on. And if you were 7 foot even, and most people were 5 foot, you're going to stand out. So I don't think it's a matter of exactly how tall they are. And like I said, when we translate the numbers were letters, and the letters, well, this might be news to you. So, like, you would take the name of someone, and you'd spell it a certain way, and you'd abbreviate a person's long name and title by giving a number to that person. So, Nero, if you spell his name and his titles one way, the number of Nero is 616. But if you spell Nero a slightly different way and with different spellings, the number of Nero is 666. So you'd have a number assigned to people rather than the full long name of Nero, Caesar of whatever, and long title. You would just give those 3 letters of the alphabet that represented the numbers that corresponded with them. They didn't have a number system. Well, I mean, the Romans did with Roman numerals, but those were still letters. There's still an L and an X and a V. They're still letters. So they at least developed a system for making a letter counting system separate than most did, where they just took whatever letter it is in the alphabet, that's the number that it represents, 1 through 10 or whatever else. So anyway, you're one of the larger specimens, Mountain says. Yes, thank you. I'm watching people. Yeah, it was a good rabbit trail. Okay. In spite of this, you did not trust the Lord your God, who went ahead of you on your journey in fire by night and in a cloud by day to search out places for you to camp and to show you the way you should go. Okay, one of the things I've been pondering and thinking about is, this is written from the perspective of the people got it wrong, the people got it wrong, the people got it wrong, the people got it wrong. I think that's because it's writing to a people to make sure that they evaluate themselves to not get it wrong. But we also live on the side way past this, past the New Testament. And so for us, standing where we are to look back, it looks like it is so easy to, like, you have the pillar and the cloud and you saw the things in Egypt. Why would you ever have rebelled against God? And that story of 40 years is crammed, and we're reading it. The story of 40 years is crammed into this book. It looks like. Oh, and by the way, did you notice? He didn't start with the golden calf. He did not start with the golden calf. The golden calf was not included in this story of Deuteronomy. Or unless it's still coming, I don't think it is, because they're already on their way to the land. So the golden calf is not recounted in Deuteronomy. So, anyway. Oh, yeah. You out Y or J with a vowel, you put Yah or Yahweh in their name. Yes. Yep. That's how you do some things with names. Yeah. Yeah, there's variant spellings, all those things. Yep. So, all that to say, how tall were they really? Unclear, but clearly taller than everyone else, and significant enough that everyone knew they were giants. And if you've ever had that, like you see a family, and everyone in the family is over 6 foot tall, it's pretty normal in that family. In my family, my brother's over 6 foot tall. He's it. Like, no one else is over 6 foot tall. We're not tall. We get over that 5 foot mark, over 5.5, we stop. Don't want to hit our heads on doorposts. That just doesn't seem sensical. Okay, in spite of this, you did not trust the Lord your God, who went ahead of you on your journey in fire by night and in a cloud by day, to search out the place for you to camp and show you the way you should go. When the Lord heard what you said, he was angry and solemnly swore, no one from this evil generation shall see the good land I swore to give to your ancestors, except Caleb, son of Jephunneh. He will see it, and I will give him and his descendants the land he set his foot on, because he followed the Lord wholeheartedly. Because of you, the Lord became angry with me also, and said, you shall not enter it either. Okay, notice Moses is blaming them. He is blaming the people for what happened with him. I'm not saying that Moses is wrong, because if you look at it from this perspective, if they would have gone into the land at that time, instead of wandering for another 38 years, because it's a 40 total, it talks about later, if they had not wandered for 40 years in the desert, then Moses doesn't strike the rock because he's in the land. So it is because of them wandering in the desert that Moses ends up sinning, because he's not in the land. Had they not done it, he'd be in the land. He would have got to go in. So it is because of them, even though he has to take responsibility for what he did. Had they not done that, he would have been in the land. He would have never been in the place to do the other. So he's not wrong. And I don't think, but I do think he is passing blame on them. Okay. But your assistant, Joshua, son of Nun, will enter it. Encourage him, because he will lead Israel to inherit it. And the little ones that you said would be taken captive, your children, who do not yet know good from bad, they will enter the land. I will give it to them, and they will take possession of it. But as for you, turn around and set out towards the desert along the road to the Sea of Reeds. And yes, I often say that instead of Red Sea, because that's what the Hebrew says. Then you replied, we have sinned against the Lord. We will go up and fight as the Lord our God has commanded us. So every one of you put on his weapons, thinking it was easy to go up into the hill country. But the Lord said to me, Tell them, do not go up and fight, because I will not be with them. You will be defeated by your enemies. So I told you, but you didn't listen. You rebelled against the Lord's command, and in your arrogance, you marched up into the hill country. The Amorites who lived in those hills came out against you. They chased you like a swarm of bees, and they beat you down from Seir all the way to Hormah. You came back and wept before the Lord, but you paid no attention to your weeping and turned a deaf ear to you, and so you stayed at Kadesh many days, all the time you spent there. Yep, see, there's the footnote. See, it reads. So you didn't listen, and this is what happened. So we're getting a whole retelling of the story. Why? Why are we retelling the whole story? We're getting this of Exodus and Numbers retold in Deuteronomy, and in Numbers we also had some retelling of Exodus and part of Leviticus. I'm not entirely sure, but there's a different perspective here, so notice the differences. Then we turned back and set out towards the wilderness along the route to the Sea of Reeds, as the Lord had directed for me. For a long time we made our way around the hill country of Seir. Then the Lord said to me, you have made your way around the mountain country long enough. Now turn north, give these people these orders. You are about to pass through the territory of your relatives, the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir. They will be afraid of you. But be very careful. Do not provoke them to war, for I will not give you any of their land, not even enough to put your foot on. I have given Esau the hill country of Seir as his own. You are to pay them in silver for the food you eat and the water you drink. So we did not know this was a command of God when we read through previously. Now we're learning that. But notice, we just skipped all of the wandering in the desert. We went from Sinai, you went to try to go in the land, and then we had to wander for 40 years, and we're going towards the land. Like, we just, like, boom, fast forward all of that stuff. The Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through the vast wilderness. These 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. So there we're getting a retelling of the food and water you haven't lacked, but we're not getting the mention of the manna. We're not getting the serpent in the wilderness. We're not getting the murmuring, and we're getting a different story. And we're getting a fast version. So and Moses is telling all the people this before they go in the land. Like, this is like the end of Moses' life. This is the end. He's telling them all that. He's retelling the story. So we went on past our relatives, the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir. We turned from the Arabah road, which comes up from Elath and Ezion-Geber, and traveled along the desert road of Moab. Then the Lord said to me, do not harm the Moabites or provoke them to war, for I will not give you any part of their land. I have given Ar to the descendants of Lot as a possession. If you didn't remember, the Moabites are the descendants of Lot. The Emites used to live there, a people strong and numerous, as tall as the Anakites. Oh, sorry, did not see I had an ad break coming. Sorry, my friends. Sorry about that. All right, so let's get over to the cams. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, and we'll move on to the fishies. Moving on to the fishies. We'll just do the fish. Who needs to see the empty room? There they are. Hungry as ever. And I'll get up and stretch. Well, that part of the Stream Deck works. I don't know why sometimes Streamlabs and Stream Deck do not connect with each other. But alas, poor Horatio, I knew him well. They do not. They do not. They don't play well. Okay. So we just got into and I understand why they want to put these in here, because they clearly, you can see their parenthetical thoughts, but parentheses and quotation marks and hyphens are not a marker used in ancient text. They are all modern. So I just assume not have them there. Okay. The Emites used to live there, a people strong and numerous and as tall as the Anakites. Like the Anakites, they too were considered Rephites, but the Moabites called them Emites. Horites used to live in Seir, but the descendants of Esau drove them out. They destroyed the Horites from before them and settled in their place, just as Israel did in the land the Lord gave them as their possession. So this is looks like a note that is added at a later date, because it also says just as Israel did in the, so it's like it's a note written after the fact of, hey, where Edom is, they had a people they drove out. Where Moab is, they had a people they drove out. And Israel, they had a people they drove out. They all worked to destroy those who were descendants of giants. And David does the final slaying of the giants in the land. Okay. And the Lord said, now get up and cross the Zered Valley. So we crossed the valley. 38 years passed from the time we left Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the Zered Valley. By then, that entire generation of fighting men had perished from the camp, as the Lord had sworn to them. Okay, just give me a second here. I'm going to cough. So I'm going to grab a cough drop, just so my throat don't get irritated. Okay, so 38 years. We talk about it being 40 years. They already were at Mount Sinai for more than a year, and then they set out from there. So it is 40 years totality. And so they wait 38 years, and it says all the fighting men. So all who were counted as fighting men had to be 20 years and older. So that meant that everyone 58 years old and older, the men have died. There is no one, except at this point, Moses, Joshua, and Caleb, that are older than 58 years old. There's no one else older than that are men who are left. There probably could be some women, but there are not men that are 58, if we're just adding the math together. The Lord's hand was against them until he had completely eliminated them from the camp. Now, when the last of these fighting men among the people had died, the Lord said to me, today you are to pass by the region of Moab at Ar. When you come to the Ammonites, do not harass them or provoke them to war, for I will give you possession of any land I will not give you any possession of land belonging to the Ammonites. I have given it as a possession to the descendants of Lot. Okay, so Lot is to take over, Moab is to take over the Ammonites. That too was considered the land of the Rephites, who used to live there, but the Ammonites called them Zamzamites. There's a name for you, Zamzamites. Okay, we got to go look up that name. What is a Zamzamite? All right, what verse are we in? 20. Bum. Zamzamites. Zamzaims, okay. Thank you, Lucis.
Strong's H 2157. Zamzamim.
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 Hey, welcome, Artsy Bible. Plotters. Okay, that's a weird name. Plotters. I don't know. I'm thinking there might be some other. So this is one of the things with Strong's Dictionary, which is the free version that I'm looking up that anyone has access to. Sometimes our understanding of the meaning of a word is not very vast, and so this is prior to a lot of the new learning we've gotten from the Dead Sea Scrolls, from a lot of the writing there. So, yeah, to make a plot, a device for a plot. So unless it's plotters are the ones who plotted against God and had a plan, that could make some sense, but I don't know. Don't know. Okay. It sounded like a fun name to look up. It turned out to be meh. Okay. They were a people strong and numerous and as tall as the Anakites. The Lord destroyed them from before the Ammonites, who drove them out and settled in their place. The Lord had done the same for the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir, when he destroyed the Horites from before them. Look at how it is. God is the one who's destroying them. They drove them out and have lived in their place to this day. And as for the Avites, who lived in the villages as far as Gaza, the Caphtorites coming out from Caphtor destroyed them and settled in their place. That is Crete. Okay. So a sea people. I think we later call them the Philistines, but maybe I'm wrong. And it's a different people that come again. But set out now and cross the Arnon Gorge. See, I have given into the hand Sihon, the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his country. Begin to take possession of it and engage him in battle this very day. I will begin to put the terror and fear of you on all nations under heaven. They will hear reports of you and will tremble and be in anguish because of you. So what you're going to do is going to get the word spread. The word is going to spread. From the desert of Kedemoth, I sent messengers to Sihon, king of Heshbon, offering peace and saying, let us pass through your country. We will stay on the mountain or the main road. We will not turn aside to the right or to the left. Sell us food to eat and water to drink for the price in silver. Only let us pass through on foot, as the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir, and the Moabites, who live in Ar, did for us. Wait a minute. No, they did not. Esau did not let you pass through. Esau said no. So look at how this is retelling it. Like, hey, they let us. Well, you ended up going around. You didn't go through. But Cretans are liars and gluttons, to quote Paul, quoting one of their poets. Yeah. Okay. Till we cross the Jordan into the land the Lord our God is giving us. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, refused to let us pass through. For the Lord your God had made his spirit stubborn and his heart obstinate in order to give him into your hands, as he has now done. The Lord said to me, see, I have begun to deliver Sihon and his country over to you. Now begin to conquer and possess his land. When Sihon and his army came out to meet us in the battle of Jahaz, the Lord our God delivered him over to us, and we struck him down, together with his sons and his whole army. At that time, we took all his towns and completely destroyed them. That is being devoted over to God, to completely destroy a thing and devote it to God. Men, women, and children. We left no survivors. Again, we will read at times where it uses this military victory language and says we completely destroyed them all. Later on, however, there is a mention of the potential for intermarrying with those people. So, this is not necessarily saying They slaughtered every single person, and I don't know the difference between it. There are different names for children. So this could be adult children, this could be what we would consider children, this could be infants, and you'd have to go look it up. We use that word differently. So this could use the word adolescence here, perhaps, or anyway, descendants necessarily. But anyway, just pointing it out. This could be because they're talking about completely devoting it and destroying it. That in this case, they did do a total destruction of everyone. But let's keep reading. But the livestock and the plunder from the towns we had captured, we carried off for ourselves, from Aror to the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the gorge, even as far as Gilead. Not one town was too strong for us. The Lord our God gave us all of them, but in accordance with the commands of the Lord our God, you did not encroach on any of the land of the Ammonites, neither the land along the course of the Jabbok, nor that around the towns in the hills. Okay. And again, we could go back and look at the other accounts of this in Numbers to see where did they kill and where did they get commands to kill all men, women, and children, and when did they not, and when did they, out of devotion, choose to do things and not. So just pointing those things out as we go along. Next, we turned and went up along the road toward Bashan, and Og, king of Bashan, with his whole army marched out to meet us in the battle of Edrei. The Lord said to me, do not be afraid of him, for I have delivered him into your hands, along with his whole army and his land. Do to him what you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. So the Lord our God also gave into our hands Og, king of Bashan, and his whole army. We struck them down, leaving no survivors. At that time, we took all his cities. There was not one of his 60 cities that we did not take from them. The whole region of Argob? What kind of word is that? Argob. Og's kingdom in Bashan. Sorry, that word is stumbling over. Let's find out what it is. So in 3:4, Argob. I am probably not pronouncing that right. Argob? I don't know. We shall find out, friends. We shall find out.
Strong's H709.
Ergov. Heap of clods. Okay, not a great name, but I was just stumbling over it. So, Violent Wind has followed. Hey, Violent Wind. Thanks for the follow, friend. Something's up with my alerts, and they're not working. I'm going to have to figure out why my alerts are not working. But welcome in. Glad to have you here. Okay. All these cities were fortified with high walls and with gates and bars. And there were also a great many unwalled villages. We completely destroyed them, as we had done with Sihon, king of Heshbon, destroying every city, woman and child, but all the livestock and the plunder from their cities we carried off for ourselves. Okay. Again, this is using total victory language. I'm not certain, as we're getting this rendition read through, that we need to make the assumption that of all these 60 cities, they burned them to the ground because then they would have no places to live in, or that they killed every man, woman, and child. They're describing total victory. There was no one to stand against us, and we devoted things to God. It's that total devotion piece and the total victory piece that is being emphasized here. So at that time, we took from these two kings of the Amorites the territory east of the Jordan, from the Arnon Gorge as far as Mount Hermon. Hermon is called Sirion by the Sidonians, and the Amorites call it Senir. We took all the towns on the plateau and all Gilead and all Bashan as far as Salakah and Edrei, towns of Og's kingdom in Bashan. Og, king of Bashan, was the last of the Rephaites. His bed was decorated with iron and was more than 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. It is still in Rabbah of the Ammonites. Okay, so you were asking earlier about how big were these people. Well, here it says that his bed is 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. So if you go from the tip of your finger to your elbow, and generally that's used as 18 inches as one. I can't remember if that's the Egyptian one or I think the Hittite one. Anyway, if you take 18 inches times 9, like that's monstrous, but you don't, that doesn't necessarily mean the person is hitting their head and their feet are hanging off the end in a bed. The bed is bigger than the person. So, but yeah, that's massive. That's a massive bed. Of the land that we took over at that time, I gave the Reubenites and the Gadites the territory north of Aurora by the Arnon Gorge, including half of the hill country of Gilead together with its towns, the rest of Gilead and also all of Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to the half tribe of Manasseh. The whole region of the Argob in Bashan used to be known as the land of the Rephaites. Jar, a descendant of Manasseh, took the whole region of Argob as far as the border of Geshurites and the Maacathites. It was named after him, so that to this day Bashan is called Havoth Jaar, or a settlement, the settlements of Jaar. And I gave Gilead to Machir, but the Reubenites and the Gadites I gave the territory extending from Gilead down to the Arnon Gorge, the middle of the gorge being the border, and out of the Gabak River, which is the border of the Ammonites. The western border was the Jordan in the Arabah, from Kinnereth to the Sea of Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, below the slopes of Pisgah. Okay, so this is how they talk about their territory and do that. This is not a plot. They're not giving you a map. They're describing it by boundaries of places and cities and rivers and mountains and gorges, and that's how you would tell and describe the land. So, before you had GPS, that's how you would give directions often to people of going past this certain house, or going past a tree, or going past some other landmark that you might see. So, I commanded you at that time, the Lord your God has given you this land to take possession of it, but all your able-bodied men armed for battle must cross over ahead of the other Israelites. However, your wives, your children, and your livestock, I know you have much livestock, may stay in the towns I have given you, until the Lord gives rest to your fellow Israelites, as he has to you, and they too have taken over the land that the Lord your God is giving them to cross the Jordan. After that, each of you may go back and to the possessions I have given you. So, he just said they have towns that they have been given. Well, if the towns were completely destroyed, where would their families stay? And are they going to stay and build towns? I'm just talking like through the logic of stuff. So, Lane, gonna be a long day at work. Only 4-ish hours of sleep, 9 hours of work left. Oh, man. Sorry, man. My type of mapping. Lou says, yeah. And, sleep well. Yes. Have a great day, Lane. Thanks for popping in. Okay. Okay, here we are. At that time I commanded Joshua, you have seen with your own eyes all the Lord your God has done to those two kings. The Lord will do the same to all the kingdoms over there where you are going. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. So, he's telling this to the people. He's telling the people, he told this to Joshua. Why is he telling the people this? Because the people are the ones who need to hear that God will fight for you. Joshua's witnessed it over the last 40 years. So I don't think Joshua's going, well, I don't know if he will now. He saw the plagues. I don't know if Joshua's saying, I don't know if he will now. 40 years ago, 38 years ago, he wanted to go in and fight. Now he suddenly doesn't? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. This is not being said because Joshua needs to hear it. It's being said because the people need to hear it. At that time, I pleaded with the Lord, Sovereign Lord, you have begun to show to your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For what God is there in heaven or on earth who can do the deeds and mighty works you do? Let me go over and see the good land beyond the Jordan, that fine hill country, and Lebanon. Ooh, that's interesting. So that would be quite a long journey to go all the way up to Lebanon, which would be the far northern border. So let me go into the hill country and go all the way through the whole land. But because of you, the Lord's angry with me and will not listen to me. That is enough, the Lord said. Do not speak to me anymore about this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah and look west and north and south and east. Look at the land with your own eyes, since you are not going to cross this Jordan. But commission Joshua and encourage and strengthen him, for he will lead this people across and will cause them to inherit the land that you will see. So we stayed in the valley near Beth Peor. Ooh, are we going to get into the attacks that Balaam or not? Because I think that was by Beth Peor. Or no, Baal Peor, not Beth Peor. I got an ad. How do I get out of the ad? Weird. Some reason, like when I'm in dark mode, like the X's to exit out of something don't always show up. It's weird. It's weird. Like you can't always see the way to cancel something. Which also happens when the ads are coming up. It doesn't always show me that. Okay. Now, Israel, hear the decrees and laws I am about to teach you. Follow them so that you may live and go into the land and take possession of the land. The God of your ancestors is giving you. Do not add to what I command you, and do not subtract from it, but keep the commands, the Lord your God, that I give you. That is an interesting statement. Do not add to it. What do the Pharisees end up doing? They end up adding to it. What do the people end up doing throughout the Old Testament? They neglect to do it, so in some sense they subtract from it. So we've got a recount of the march and the battles. Now we're going to get a recount of the laws, it appears. You saw with your own eyes what the Lord did at Baal Peor. There we go. I told you we're going to get that. The Lord your God destroyed from among you everyone who followed the Baal of Peor. But all of you who held fast to the Lord your God are still alive today. See, I have taught you decrees and laws as the Lord my God commanded me, so that you may follow them in the land you are entering to take possession of it. Observe them carefully, for this will show your wisdom and understanding to the nations. What is going to show wisdom and understanding? Observing carefully the commands of God. Who will hear about all these decrees and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. What other nation is so great as to have their gods near them the way the Lord our God is near us, whatever we pray to him? And what other nation is so great as to have such righteous decrees and laws as this body of laws I am setting before you today. So, part of the point when we were back at Mount Sinai was a marriage covenant between the people and God. And so they are going to be a nation set apart, a nation that is different, a nation that the rest are supposed to look at. We'll get into Deuteronomy 32 down the road, and it'll talk about that Israel is God's portion when the nations are divided up by the number of the sons of God, and that is 70 or 72, depending on how you count that. And so that is the way the world viewed things. Like, there was a God who was a territorial God who had territory, and you worshiped the God who was of that territory. Now you have a God that can go into any territory. That's what we saw with Balaam. That's what we saw in Egypt. He can go anywhere he wants, and he has chosen to reside in the temple, the tabernacle, later the temple, reside in and among the people, not high on a mountain, but in a dwelling that they have created. So it goes with them. God goes before them. We have the ark and all of that stuff. So this is supposed to be different than everyone else. And when they hear about you and they see how wise you are and they see how obedient you are to following God, they're supposed to be attracted to that. It's not what happens. Only be careful and watch yourself closely so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen or let them fade from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and to your children after them. Remember the day you stand before the Lord your God at Horeb, when he said to me, assemble the people before me to hear my words, so that they may learn to revere me as long as they live in the land and may teach them to their children. You came near and stood at the foot of the mountain while it blazed with fire to the very heavens, with black clouds and deep darkness. Then the Lord spoke to you out of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no form. There was only a voice. He declared to you his covenant, the 10 Commandments, which he commanded you to follow, and then wrote them on 2 stone tablets. And the Lord directed me at that time to teach you the decrees and the laws you are to follow in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You saw no form of any kind the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire. Therefore, watch yourself very carefully, so that you do not become corrupted and make for yourself an idol or an image of any shape, whether formed like a man or a woman. Okay, so we don't quite get and understand this whole concept of making idols. It's not that they worshipped the idol. It was that by doing and creating an idol, and then you had a whole ceremony that went along with it, that in some ways is similar to creation of man in the garden. When we read through that, there's some real good parallels between the ceremonies that, and they still go on today, by the way. They still go on today. Ceremonies on with creating of idols still happen today. But the part of it is, like, you are trying to create an object that part of the spirit of the God or the spirit, whatever being, will take residency in, and therefore you can commune with and connect to that spirit, deity, whatever your beliefs are. You are trying to make a place for it to dwell and have residency so that you can commune with it. And then, in some level, hope to control it by getting what you want from it. Now, people wouldn't do that if they didn't get something from it, if something did not happen, if these things did not work. So there has to be, and I know much of the church just poo-poos, oh, they're not God, so there's nothing real there. No, there is something real there. It is not the God, creator of the universe. It is a lesser spirit of some kind, and yeah, they need to be defeated and left alone and stayed away from. So, anyway. Or like any animal on earth or any bird that flies in the air, which is interesting. If you look at, image of any shape, whether formed by man or a woman, or likeness of an animal or a bird that flies in the air, or like any creature that moves along the ground, or any fish in the sea below. And when you look up to the skies and you see the sun, moon, and stars, all the heavenly array, do not be enticed to bow down to them and worship the things that the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven. Look at it, just said, those things are apportioned to others, not to you. But as for you, the Lord took you and brought you out of the iron smelting furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people as an inheritance, as you are now. The Lord was angry with me because of you, and he solemnly swore that I would not cross the Jordan and enter the good land the Lord your God is giving to you as an inheritance. Notice, I don't know how many times it is that Moses repeats this, and maybe it's a marker of some kind that every time Moses is going to say, I don't get to go into land, he's going to point to something they did wrong. I don't know. Or he's pointing to some victory. I don't know which way it is. I'm just noticing Moses keeps bringing it up. Moses keeps bringing it up. I'm not going with you. I'm not going with you. I'm not going with you. I will die in this land. I will not cross the Jordan, but you are about to cross over and take possession of that good land. Be careful not to forget the covenant of the Lord your God that he made with you. Do not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything the Lord your God has forbidden. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. So why does he call him a consuming fire? Well, the consuming fire came and consumed Aaron's sons. You have the pillar of fire, which also, came and went against the Egyptians. So, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. After you have had children and grandchildren and have lived in the land a long time, if you then become corrupt, make any kind of idol, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord your God and arousing his anger, I call the heavens and earth as witness against you this day that you will quickly perish from the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You will not live there long, but will certainly be destroyed. The Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will survive among the nations to which the Lord will drive you. There you will worship man-made gods of wood and stone, which cannot see or hear or eat or smell. But if, if from there you seek the Lord your God, you will find him. If, if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. When you are in distress and all these things have happened to you, then in the latter days you will return to the Lord your God and obey him. For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not abandon or destroy you or forget the covenant with your ancestors, which he confirmed to them by oath. So this is fascinating. Oh, I see my screen has frozen. Why is my screen frozen? Let's see what's going on. My switch to cam. It appears my cam is the problem. All right, no, that's not what I want. All right, let me switch that. Oh, I know what I can do. There we go. I don't know, it froze for some reason. Let me switch back. Is it still froze? Yeah, it's not. I don't know why it does that every once in a while. Every once in a while, my cam will just freeze. Yeah, so you see, I'm not where I normally am. So I don't know when it froze, but we're back. We're back. It's a good phrase to freeze on. Yeah, I also look up and I'm frozen. I'm like, what? What? Yeah, so no hats, no hats. I will get the stream room back and up, and I don't know if I'll stream all the rest of that because I'll have to run out to the garage to cut wood in between things, and that would get boring to not have it all. So perhaps uh, I'll do some more video of it, but and put a or pics, and I'll do a time frame loop of progress. But anyway, hoping to get that back up sooner rather than later. All right, we're back. Okay. Oh, okay. Also, interesting. That's what I was getting into. So, when Abraham is being told about things that are going to be future, he's told, your descendants will be slaves in Egypt for 400 years, and then they'll get the land. Here, Moses is telling them, you're going to go into captivity because you're going to stray from God, and God's going to take you away. And when you're in captivity, when you're in the far nations, you can return, and God will bring you back if you seek God with all your heart and with all your soul. In your distress, in the later days, God's merciful. He will bring you back because he's confirmed on oath. Ask now about the former days, long before your time. From the day God created human beings on the earth, ask from one end of the heavens to the other, has anything so great as this ever happened? Or has anything like it ever been heard of? Has any other people heard the voice of God speaking out of the fire as you have and lived? Has any God ever tried to take for himself one nation out of another nation by testing, by signs, and by wonders, by war, by a mighty hand, by an outstretched arm, or by a great and awesome deeds, like all the things the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? Rhetorically, no, a no, a no. Nobody's done this. Nobody could do this. We're following the God, the creator of the universe. Bum, bum, bum. You were shown these things so that you might know that the Lord is God. Beside him there is no other. From heaven he made you hear his voice to discipline you. On earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words from out of the fire. So did you, Moses, the burning bush. Because he loved your ancestors and chose their descendants after them, he brought you out of Egypt by his presence and his great strength, to drive out before you nations greater and stronger than you, and to bring you into the land, to give it to you for your inheritance as it is today. That's an interesting phrase here, which we get in the book of Judges about the statement of this is being written later, and it's a summary. And even today, this is still true. Just interesting to have that little phrase in there. It could just be referring to, we've summarized all of this and we're here at the precipice. Even today, God has, so it doesn't necessarily mean this is written later. I'm saying in the book of Judges, it has that kind of feel to it as we conclude each judge. Acknowledge and take to heart this day that the Lord is God in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. Keep his decrees and commands, which I am giving you today, so that it may go well with you and your children after you, and that you may live long in the land the Lord your God gives you for all time. So, how do you live long in the land? You keep his decrees and commands. That's the way it goes. Then Moses set aside 3 cities east of the Jordan, to which anyone who had killed a person could flee if, they had unintentionally killed a neighbor without malice aforethought. They could flee into one of these cities and save their life. The cities were these: Bezer in the wilderness plateau for the Reubenites, Ramoth in Gilead for the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan for the Manassites. That's interesting. On the east side, there's 3 tribes. They each get one. I thought there was only going to be 3 on the other side. There's 6 in total. This is the law Moses set before the Israelites. These are the stipulations, decrees, and laws Moses gave them when they came out of Egypt and were in the valley near Beth Peor, east of the Jordan, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, and was defeated by Moses and the Israelites as they came out of Egypt. They took possession of his land in the land of Og of Bashan, the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan. This land extended from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge to Mount Sirion, that is Hermon, and included all the Arabah east of the Jordan as far as the Dead Sea, below the slopes of Pisgah. Sea of Arabah. Oh, I didn't know the Dead Sea was called the Sea of Arabah. Interesting. Oh, dun dun dun. Hear, Israel, the decrees and laws I declare in your hearing today. Learn them and be sure to follow them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. It was not with our ancestors that the Lord made this covenant, but with us, with all of us who are alive here today. That is a fascinating statement. 40 years ago, he made this covenant with all of us who are alive today, and all of you under 40, the covenant was still made with you, even though you were not there to ratify it. It was ratified by your parents, which is just like interesting statement. All of us alive today, we're part of it. We're part of it. You're included. The Lord spoke to you face to face out of the fire on the mountain. At that time, I stood between the Lord and you to declare to you the word of the Lord, because you were afraid of the fire and did not want to go up the mountain. And he said, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. It's always a declaration to begin with of who God is and what he's done. Who God is and what he's done is a declaration of praise and glory and honor. And it starts there. Even the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, or Thomas when he's actually doing a prayer when he says, my Lord and my God. That is how you start a prayer. I can't remember what it is in Hebrew to say that. It's something Adonai, but I don't remember what it is. My Lord and my God. That's how you begin a prayer. I'm watching you people. Did all the nations of Israel wear head coverings? And if so, was it more spiritual, cultural, or for protection? Protection like wind and sand and other environmental factors. I'm watching you people. I don't have a firm answer to that question. I do know that when we go through Leviticus and we talk about the priests, there is a turban that the priests are supposed to wear. But I don't know that answer. That's not something that I've paid attention to or studied entirely to know if all the different tribes wore head coverings and what kind of head coverings they would have wore. I haven't looked into that. It's a great question. Okay. You shall have no other gods before me or besides me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth below, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of their parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. I know we often get like punishing the children to the third and fourth generation, and we pronounce that so our kids get scared and be obedient. Here's the amazing thing. Showing love to 1,000 generations of those that love and keep my commands. You want to bless your family? You want to bless your children? Love God and keep his commands. 1,000 generations after you, God will still be showing love to them. That's just an amazing thought. Amazing thought. Also, I think the punishing is Well, let's go look the word up. Actually, let's go do that before I say something more. Let's go look up punishing. So we're in. Let me just get rid of the others we've looked up. Deuteronomy 5 and verse 8. Let's look up the word punishing. This might not have quite the nuance I'm looking for. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry, we're in 9. It's in the middle of a paragraph here. I missed it. Okay. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. Okay. So let's look both of those. Visiting. Pakad.
Strong's H, 6485. Pakad.
Okay. To attend to, muster, number, reckon, visit, punish, appoint, look after, care for, to seek, to visit. So,
Strong's H, 5771.
okay. This is just the wrongdoing. Perversity, depravity, iniquity, guilt, punishment, of iniquity. Okay. What I'm getting at is it's more of a visiting, like attending to, of seeing that it is there. So I think really what this is more of a bearing witness to the consequences. So let me just pick on one particular thing. Doesn't matter what I did. If I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old and I go to prison for 20 years, what is going to happen to the livelihoods of my children while I am gone for 20 years? The iniquity, the punishment of my sin is on my children. They bear witness to it. I bear witness to the consequence of whatever I did wrong on them. And then that also, I will, when I get out in 20 years, whether I have a relationship that's estranged or not, be able to bear witness to the consequence of my decision on my grandkids. And if I live long enough, the continuing ongoing consequences. And so if you think about the normal human lifespan, we'll see the 3rd or the 4th generation of your descendants. Some get to see 5. That's a rarity. I don't know of anyone who has done 6. It's certainly possible, but certainly a very rarity. My wife's family did have 5 generations at one point. That's no longer true. If my daughter has a child while her great-grandmother's still alive, 5 will again be possible, or I should say even if my sons did. But 3rd and 4th is a normal occurrence that you get to see your grandkids and your great-grandkids. That is a normal occurrence. And so the punishing the children of, I think it is establishing, and the consequences will ripple down to that. So whatever the consequence that comes about from the sin that you do will be passed on and witnessed for 3 or 4 generations. I don't see this, because later God talks about in other places about he doesn't punish children for the sins of their parents. Well, this sounds differently. Well, if you take the word punishing, which I don't think is a good translation, visiting, we don't use that word, but I think bearing witness to the consequences of the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those that hate you. Yeah, you go against God, the consequences will last for generations. But the showing of love, hesed, to thousands of generations is far different. Okay, anyway, that's my understanding of this part. You might disagree, you might see it differently. I'm okay with that. I just wanted to nuance that out a bit for you. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Okay, Also, I don't like that translation. So let's go look at that word. 11. Bum, 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 bum. So I believe this is bear the name. Bear the name.
Strong's H 5375. Nasa.
Yeah.
Nasa.
See, it has the you bear the name of. You are the representative of. So, how do we do this as Christians? Oh, wait, I just showed you. I call myself a Christian. I am a bearer of the name of Christ by calling myself a Christian. So, if I go do something heinous, outlandish, outrageous, declaring myself to be a follower of Jesus, I have bared the name wrong. When I don't show love to my neighbor, I have bared the name of Jesus in a bad way. And I will not be guiltless for bearing the name. I am a bearer of that name. Like, think of your last name, whatever your last name is. You bear that name. My mother was the oldest, and by the time her younger brother went through school, her last name was known by all the teachers from her and her two younger brothers before her baby brother. And so by the time he came through school, oh, you're one of them. Now, maybe you had that experience. You're one of them. You bear that name. I know who you are and what you're like, no matter if you are different. So if you're the youngest of many children and you go through school and you have the same teachers, people are judging you because of the bearing of the name of your older siblings. Or this could also be your parents. If your parents went through the school system and you come into the school system and then suddenly people go, oh, you're so-and-so's child. You bear the name of, and they treat you accordingly because of that. I think that's the idea here. This is not about, oh, I spoke it out loud in a poor manner. There are other passages that have to do with speaking. I don't think this is speaking. I think this is much richer. This is not about misusing it in a fashion of I spoke it poorly and I'm swearing. No, I think there's other passages that say that. I think this is bearing the name. Like, I am the representative of the people of God to the other nations. That's what the covenant's about. And I will be guilty if I don't bear it correctly. How do I not bear it correctly? I disobey all the commands of God. I worship other gods. I do all those things. That's how I bear the name improperly. Okay. And I know we don't talk about, or a lot of churches I know don't teach, and I mean teach by go through each of the 10 commandments in a manner of let's learn what it means, let's learn how we do this, let's learn what it really means to do it. We just read through them and say, do. Like, that's it. That's all there is. Like, no more. All right, let me get caught up on anything in chat. I will call Flat Cap telling us that we could all use the words command. I don't work for me. Do you know why? Maybe you're not quite getting it right. I'm watching you people. It is exclamation point words plus. Maybe I only have it set up for mods to be able to use. Sometimes the commands have a button that says mods can use only. Maybe I'm watching you people. It's only mods can do words. But you also have to have the plural and the plus sign after the exclamation point. So here. Yeah, so so it's words plus, but you need an exclamation point in front of it. And my commands are set up. You don't get to see the commands once they're typed. Commands disappear. Hey, Pop Taterhead. Good morning, Flat Cap and chat. I hope you have a beautiful day. You know, until that movie came out where he spelled it that way, I could never get beautiful spelled correctly. And that's how I know how to spell it. B-E-A, beautiful day. So now I can spell it correctly. Okay, you did it. It doesn't work. Okay, it might be on mod only. Sorry. I'll look at that because I don't care if other people do it. It's not like it's a big count. Ooh, you can count. So let me check that. And C, it might be said mod only. Okay. Observing the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. What does holy mean? Holy means set apart, sacred, separate, different from everything else. As the Lord your God commanded you, 6 days shall you labor and do all your work. But on the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. Neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your ox, your donkey, or any of your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your town, so that your male and female servants may rest as you do. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God commanded you to observe the Sabbath. The Sabbath has to do with trusting God, with relying on God to provide for you instead of doing things of your own power and your own might and striving to get ahead. And you might strive to get ahead by forcing people in your household to do work while you rest. It's not about any of those things. No, Sabbath is about trusting God and relying that you can have and God will provide for you, and you don't have to strive. So, they did it on the seventh day. The early church began to do things on Sunday, Resurrection Day. Some were practicing both. Some were practicing other feasts. We have teaching in the New Testament that talks about considering one day more important than another. I don't think it's because think about this too. Even in the temple tabernacle system, the priest had to daily do sacrifices. So someone is doing work. Someone is always doing work, but is doing work on your behalf, and they didn't serve continually. So I think it is the principle of rest. It is the principle of believing and trusting God to be enough is what this is about, that you were slaves and you had to strive to get ahead, and you couldn't do it, and God rescued you. So trust in God. He'll help you to have all you need. So, Star Fox 22, hey, everyone, welcome in. Okay, honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long and that it may go well with you in the land the Lord your God is giving you. Okay, I don't believe, and this one doesn't say, like, the children obey your parents. There's a different word for adult children as for young children. We treat this as this is for our little kids to learn. No, this is for adult children to know. You honor your father and mother. You don't take advantage of them, and you don't push them aside when they're old and unable to contribute. You honor them. You care for them. You bless them even in old age. That's what this is about, not young kids obeying parents. Okay, you shall not murder. And the Hebrew here is clear that this is an intentional depriving someone of life. This is not a military action. This is not a governmental action. I know older translations said kill, and then people distorted that to say the Bible says don't kill, the government can't kill, or the army can't kill. That is not the intent of the Hebrew there. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Now, this is a fascinating progression here. You have murder. Oh, sorry, ad break ends. I didn't see the ad coming. Sorry, friends. Sorry, friends. I'm watching people for some reason. I keep saying Sabbath days are leftover days where people didn't cook but ate food that was made the day before. Our whole meals like cheese and flatbread and fruit and stuff like that. Just random thought with no factor. This is fine. Okay. Okay. Let's go over to some cams. I'm going to go feed the fish. I'm going to go feed the fish while we got an ad break. So. There we go. Swimming around, eating some food. What a wonderful life. They'll be so much happier when they get out in the pond outside. But alas, it's not time yet. Okay. So it's just getting into the murder, the committed adultery, the stealing, and the giving false testimony against your neighbor. Wouldn't you think on some level that you would have a progression towards the more, the grievous ones, But notice how this goes. It goes, honor your father and mother, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't bear false testimony. Okay, the honor father and mother seems out of place a little bit, and then the murder seems like like we would categorize that's serious. I would never do that. Commit adultery. Oh, it's serious, but not as serious as murder. But I still wouldn't do that. The steal, well, maybe I have, but it wasn't a big deal. And the don't give false testimony against your neighbor. Well, not in court, but I have said gossip, and I've outright lied to get out of something or to deceive someone. Oh, really? So we see how we progress these, but I think these are actually progressing in an order that is going towards the smaller thing that you allow to establish all point back to the one in the middle that we think we would never do. Okay. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not set your desires on your neighbor's house or land or his male or female servant, on his ox or donkey or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So this one is inward only. This one is inward only, which could lead to this, 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 which would lead to not doing this. Which all go back to, I think I need to strive for more. God has not blessed me enough. Therefore, I'm not going to honor my parents. Therefore, I'm going to get rid of this person. Therefore, I'm going to do what I want. Therefore, I'm going to take what I want. Therefore, I'm going to say what I want. Therefore, I'm going to look around and find the best, and I'm going to want it. These are the commands the Lord proclaimed in the loud voice to the whole assembly there on the mountain, from out of the fire, the cloud, and the deep darkness, and he added nothing more. Then he wrote them on 2 tablets and gave them to me. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, did I miss something? Oh, yep. Snarky or picnic-like meals. Oh, I missed something. Missed something earlier. Sorry, I didn't see that. Oh, yeah, for some reason... Oh, I did go to read this, but then we went to... Okay. I keep saying Sabbath days as leftover days, where people didn't cook but ate what they made the day before, or whole meals like cheese and flatbread and fruit, stuff like that. Oh, yeah, like things that are just finger food that are not cooked, yeah. Random thought and no facts to base it. No, they would often, like if you go to the manna where they were at, they're collecting the manna the day before and preparing the food the day before. So yeah, in essence, it is leftovers. Now, whether they can heat it up on the fire or not, I don't know. I don't see anything proclaiming against that, and whether that was declared work, I don't know. But to go gather it, it wasn't there. And the only day you could gather more was day 6, so you had it on the Sabbath. So. Yeah, I'm not a bad idea. Yeah, just to have, like, prepared food. Yep, snarky picnic-like meals. Greatest to the least. Yeah, there's a progression there. Yep, Star Fox, you see that. Snacky, that makes more sense. Snacky picnic-like meals. Yeah, that makes more sense than snarky. Step ladder going up and down. Yeah. Well, the other thing people will see within here is a parallel. So there are four that are in reference to God, and you have a transition 5 here, and then but it's hard to, like they thought that this is on 2 tablets, a front and a back, or side by side is usually how we put the 2 tablets. And some will do 5 and 5. Some will do 4 and 6 next to it and try to make parallels. But I see them more as a progressive ladder pointing backwards and forwards. But anyway. I'm watching people not just Sabbath in those days, but Sabbath through their traditions as the centuries progress. Oh, yes. And then they got really specific with their tradition of what constitutes walking and walking too far. Well, you can walk this far and it's not work, but take one more step and it became work. Like, really? Okay. When you heard the voice out of the darkness while the mountains was ablaze with fire, all the leaders of the tribes and your elders came to me, and you said, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his majesty, and we have heard his voice from the fire. Today we have seen that a person can live even if, even if God speaks with them. But now, why should we die? The great fire will consume us, and we will die if we hear the voice of the Lord our God any longer. For what mortal has ever heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the fire as we have and survived? Go near and listen to all the Lord your God says, then tell us whatever the Lord our God tells you. We will listen and obey. Not just Sabbath. Through their tradition centuries past. Oh, yeah, exactly. The ongoing thing. The Lord heard you when you spoke to me, and the Lord said to me, I have heard what the people said to you. Everything they said was good. Oh, that their hearts would be inclined to fear me and keep my command always, so that it might go well with them and their children forever. Gamer Night, good morning. Welcome in. Go tell them to return to their tents, but you stay here with me, so that I may give you all the commands, decrees, and laws you are to teach them to follow in the land I am giving them to possess. But be careful to do what the Lord your God has commanded you. Do not turn aside to the right or to the left. Walk in obedience to all the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live and prosper and prolong your days in the land that you will possess. So again, if you haven't been here, the walk is your way of life. It is the way you live. So you're turning aside to the right or the left is straying from the walk that you are to be on. So you want to be on the path that God has set before you and walk in obedience and not turn to the right or left, which is straying. Which is why there's such a prominence in so many things of telling stories and stay on the path. Stay on the path. I was just watching, that was even in the last Airbender. There was the stay on the path. These are the commands, decrees, and laws the Lord your God directed me to teach you to observe in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess, so that you, your children, and their children after them may fear the Lord your God as long as you live, by keeping all his decrees and commands that I give you, and so that you may enjoy long life. Hear, Israel, and be careful to obey, so that it may go well with you, that you may increase greatly in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Ooh, here we go. We're getting the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Keep these commandments that I am giving to you today are to be on your heart. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your forehead. Write them on the door frames of your house and on your gate. Sorry, I memorized that by doing motions with it. When the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you a land with large flourishing cities you did not build, houses filled with all of the goods you did not provide, wells you did not dig, and vineyards and oil groves you did not plant. Then when you eat and are satisfied, be careful that you do not forget that the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. So notice here, I was trying to point this out earlier. Flourishing cities you didn't build, houses filled with all kinds of things you did not provide, wells you didn't dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. So when they're going to take over these places, they are going to take possession of things and be able to provide for their family with food and with wine, with olive oil, with houses. And they didn't build those things. They're going to take them. They didn't build them. They're going to take them. God gives them to them. That's what he's trying to remind them of. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. Also, just wanted to mention, so if you've ever wondered and seen the little boxes that some rabbinic Jews will wear on their forehead or on their wrist, little boxes will have scripture rolled up in there. It's because of the Shema here, because it says that you are to tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your forehead. Write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. So they would write scripture and carry it with them as reminders to have God's word with you. So they have taken this over the centuries and turned it into literal. They've turned it into literal. Okay. Fear the Lord your God, serve him only, and take your oaths in his name. Do not follow other gods, the gods of the peoples around you. For the Lord your God, who is among you, is a jealous God, and his anger will burn against you, and he will destroy you from the face of the land. Do not put the Lord your God to the test as you did at Massah. Be sure to keep the commands of the Lord your God and the stipulations and decrees he has given you. I love the different synonyms here. Commands, stipulations, decrees. Do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so that it may go well with you, and you may go in and take over the good land the Lord promised on oath to your ancestors, thrusting out all your enemies before you, as the Lord said. Oh, Lou says, there probably is. I do not know. I do not know. My thought would be they might write the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. It might be what they write on there. I do not know the answer to that. That's a good question. I have done Habitat for Humanity builds, and people will often, like on the 2x4s behind the wall, people will write scripture, or on the floorboards before the floor goes in place, people will write scripture when they're building houses and hide it underneath within the house. Sometimes that's happened because you're trying to leave a blessing for the person and the builder behind you, and I think sometimes there's a little superstition put in there. But anyway. In the future, when your sons ask you, what is the meaning of the stipulations, decrees, and laws that the Lord our God commanded you? Tell him, we were slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Before our eyes the Lord sent sights and wonders great and terrible on Egypt and Pharaoh and his whole household. But he brought us out from there to bring us in and give us the land he promised on oath to our ancestors. The Lord commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear the Lord our God, so that we might always prosper and be kept alive, as is the case today. Oh, there's that phrase again. As is the case today. And if, if we are careful to obey all the law before the Lord our God as he has commanded us, that will be our righteousness. Ooh. So we have Abraham's belief is counted to him as righteousness. But here it's saying obedience to what God has commanded will be our righteousness. And that is also, again, going to be belief that God will do what he said. Our obeying the commands he's given us will be trusting in him. Because what is disobedience and all the rebellion that happened? That was not righteousness. That was not believing. That was not obedience. So, yeah, cool. Oh, and by the way, I didn't look at it. There was a footnote here. Let's go back up to the Lord your God. The Lord is one, or it can be the Lord, our God is one Lord, or the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, or the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. And I think the older readings I grew up is with alone, as opposed to the Lord is one. But I do think one is a better rendering because it's about the other gods around. So there's not a pantheon. There is a oneness to God, and here's where it culminates. And I don't think this is Trinitarian. It could be pointing to it, but it's not developed, and so it could be proto-Trinitarian, but I don't think we need to force that. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess and drives out before you many nations. Okay, here's the list. Here's the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, this isn't the list I was thinking. Because before, okay, there's been a list of 6. But here it does say the Jebusites. Okay. I want to find the list of 6. Okay. And I want to see drives out before you. I want to see what I get when I put drives out before you. Because I feel like when we were reading in Numbers, it was only giving us 6 names. And I was curious why it was doing 6. Okay. In context. Let's go full chapter. Oh, I'm in the Net Bible. That's why this is not giving me what I want. Okay. The phrasing might be different in a different translation, so I need to use the same translation. That's why it only gave me one. It's still only... Oh, no, it's... Give me this one. Oh, you know what? Let's just do this. Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites. Okay, there we go. So Exodus does have Jebusites, okay, but there is only 3. So the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Okay. And then we have the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. 6. Okay, I thought we were getting only 6. What's the 7th one? What's the change? Okay, Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites. Let's go back. Canaanites, Amorites, Hivites. So we got those 3. Canaanites, Hivites, Amorites. And what are the others? The the Hittites. Sorry, Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites. So we don't, so the new one, let's just, all right, sorry, wrong. Hittites, Hivites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Jebusites. It's the Girgashites is the new one. The Girgashites is the new one. So yes, I was asking earlier whether or not Jebusites was in the list that we had. We hadn't had the list for a while. The Jebusites were, and we had the clarification that the Jebusites were still in the land until David. So the the driving out from the land is an interesting way. We can look at that as we go forward. Of was obedience there? Was there disobedience there? But here's the list that I was trying to figure out. Girgashites is the one that we did not have previously. The Girgashites. Now we have 7 nations larger and stronger than you. The 6 were mentioned all through Exodus. Now we have a 7th one mentioned. 7 being the number of totality. So they could just be representative of all. The listing of 6 could be the number of man. They're doing the things the way that men do it, not the way God wants it done. So that could be why Exodus had 6. The symbolism there is for something else. Here, the symbolism is 7. The totality of the land could be thought of here. We're naming the 7 largest, but that doesn't mean it's exclusively only 7. And when the Lord your God has delivered them over to you, and you have defeated them, then you must destroy them totally. This is the referring of irrevocably giving over to God by totally destroying something. Make no treaties with them and show them no mercy. Okay, here is the commands. Make no treaties, show them no mercy. Do not intermarry with them. Okay, why is there a command to not intermarry with them if you're totally destroying them? There's no reason for a total destruction, meaning that every person. Total destruction means that some of them are killed to be given to God. Okay, so well, let me just put it this way. If this is all T. If I totally devote this to God and destroy it to give it to God, but I have more T, would I say that I didn't do that? No, I would still say I totally devoted this T to God and I totally destroyed it by devoting it to God, which is, I would say I'd probably have to do that by evaporation or pouring it on the ground, something like that. Whereas this might still be available and there. So just because I am totally destroying and devoting them doesn't mean all of them every time, because here it says, and don't intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons or take their daughters for your sons, for they will turn your children away from following me to serve other gods, and the Lord's anger will burn against you and will quickly destroy you. So this whole section is moot if they were instructed always to kill every man, woman, and child. This part is moot. So the totally devoting to doesn't include or always include every single person. It means this is the things you're to do. You are supposed to deliver them by totally destroying them. You're supposed to not make treaties and show no mercy. Well, if A was the only thing you needed to do, totally destroy everyone, kill every man, woman, and child, every animal, destroy everything, then everything listed afterwards is unnecessary. You don't have to say don't make treaties because they're dead. You don't have to say no, show no mercy because they're dead. You don't have to say don't intermarry because they're dead. You don't have to even specify. That means no daughters to your sons. That also means no sons to your daughters. Like, you wouldn't have to go on and give that clarification. You would also then not to say, oh, because what they'll do is they'll turn your children away from you and serve other gods. You wouldn't need to give any of that clarification. Just say, you're supposed to kill everybody. You're supposed to annihilate everyone, destroy everything. That's not the language that's used here. Okay. This is what you are to do to them. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, cut down their Asherah poles, and burn their idols with fire. There's the part of the totally destroying and devoting to God. You are breaking down all the symbols of their religion and destroying them completely. For you are a people set apart, holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession. The Lord did not set his affection on you and choose you because you were more numerous than any other peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples. 1. 2. We count 2. Abraham and Sarah. 2. But it was because the Lord loved you and kept the oath he swore to your ancestors that he brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the land of slavery, from the power of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant with the love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments. There's the point. He's the God. He's your God. Don't go to any others. But those who hate him, he will repay to their face by destruction. He will not be slow to repay to their face those who hate him. Therefore, take care to follow his commands, decrees, and laws I have given you today. Notice commands, decrees, and laws has changed from statutes that we used earlier. Can't remember if that was, yeah, it was the last chapter. So the synonym has changed. If, if you pay attention to these laws and are careful to follow them, then the Lord your God will keep his covenant of love. His covenant is a covenant of love with you, as he swore to your ancestors. He will love you and bless you and increase you in number. He will bless the fruit of your womb, the crops of your land with grain, new wine, and olive oil, the calves of your herd and the lambs of your flock in the land he swore to your ancestors to give you. So he's going to bless you as a people. He's going to bless your land. He's going to bless your livestock. You will be blessed more than any other people. None of your men or your women will be childless, nor will any of your livestock be without young. The Lord will keep you free from every disease. He will not inflict on you the horrible diseases you knew in Egypt, but he will inflict them on all who hate you. You must destroy all the peoples the Lord your God gives over to you. Do not look on them with pity. Do not serve their gods, for that will be a snare to you. Interesting that God is commanding them to not have pity. Which is a fascinating thing to me. It's a fascinating thing to not have pity. Why? Their judgment time has come. Their judgment time has come. You may say to yourselves, these nations are stronger than we are. How can we drive them out? But do not be afraid of them. Remember well what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt, who was bigger and stronger than you. Remember? You saw with your own eyes the great trials, the signs and wonders, the mighty hand of the outstretched arm with which the Lord your God brought you out. The Lord your God will do the same to all the peoples you now fear. Moreover, the Lord your God will send the hornet among them. Even the survivors who hide from you will perish. The hornet. Like he's going to use creation to do the fighting for you. Do not be terrified, which is interesting too. I wonder if hornets kill grasshoppers. I got to go look that up. Do hornets kill grasshoppers? Now this might not fully work out because the Greek, or sorry, the Hebrew here and the geographic region might be different. The European hornet diet consists of crickets, grasshoppers, caterpillars, wasps, and similar pests in the backyard. Yeah, I was thinking hornets would probably kill grasshoppers. It's probably a reference. So you thought there were grasshoppers or you were like grasshoppers to them in the land. Well, the hornets are going to do the work of getting rid of them. So, anyway, I'll get the hornet against them. Okay. Do not be terrified by them, for the Lord your God, who is among you. That's a fascinating thing. He is among you. He's not hidden. He's not far away. He is in the tabernacle. He is with you. Tabernacling means to be with. He tabernacled. He pitched his tent. He has come among you. He is among you. Is a great and awesome God. The Lord your God will drive out those nations before you, little by little. Notice this. It's not a they all leave at once. It's a little by little. You will not be allowed to eliminate them all at once, or the wild animals will multiply around you. See, you can't just you can only take what you can possess while you can possess it. It'll be a gradual thing. But the Lord your God will deliver them over to you. Throw them into great confusion until they are destroyed. He will give their kings into your hands, and you will wipe out their names from under the earth. This is what it means to destroy a people completely, is to wipe out their name. Why? Because you bear the name of God. You are the Israelites, his chosen people. By being a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you bear the name of your God. Their names are going to be wiped out by then, as long as you're not worshiping their gods names will be wiped out. That's what's going to happen. No one will be able to stand against you. You will destroy them. The images of their gods you are to burn with fire. That's how you totally destroy it and devote it to God. Do not covet the silver or gold on them, and do not take it for yourselves, or you will be ensnared by it, for it is detestable to the Lord your God. Do not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. Okay, you're supposed to be holy, set apart, but totally devoting it to God is to set it apart for destruction. Regard it as vile and utterly detest it, for it is set apart for destruction. So, that's a really nice, like, it would be like, okay, if this mug needed to be totally destroyed, but it's got some really, really cool stickers on there, and you really wanted those stickers, you could not take those stickers and effectively remove all of them and keep all of those stickers. You would either have to keep the whole of it, or you'd have to destroy the whole of it. So if you're commanded to destroy the whole of it, it means getting rid of all the stickers that are cool. You could not be able to keep all of those stickers. Now, maybe you could salvage a couple of them and sneak a few, and they might rip. Hey, Northa, welcome in. Welcome in, friend. Hope you had a great weekend, friend. And stickers, yes. I have merch. I have merch that I still got to work on. Anyway. Bum, bum, bum. Be careful to follow. We're in Deuteronomy, by the way, friend. We're in Deuteronomy 8 now. Be careful to follow every command I am giving you today, so that, notice how all these so that, explanation, why are you supposed to do this? Here's the command, and here's the why. Here's the command, here's the why. Like, what do kids do? They ask why. Why is God giving you all the whys? So that when you teach it to your kids, they know why from the start. Here's what you do, here's why. Here's what you do, here's why. They're all there. There should be no doubt of why are we doing this? Why are we different? Because this is the God that brought us up out of the land of Egypt to a land flowing with milk and honey. And he did this, and he did this, and he did this, and he asked us to do this. So it seemed good to do it. And if we do that, then we continue with all the stuff that he's giving us. And you know what we need to do? Not follow someone else who doesn't do that. Hello, McFly. Okay. Be careful to follow every command I am giving you today, so that you may live and increase and may enter and possess the land the Lord promised on oath to your ancestors. I'm not doing a count of that. We should have done that. Promised on oath to your ancestors. Promised on oath to your ancestors. Promised on oath to your... I mean, have you heard that resounding yet? Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. Oh, that is an interesting thing. So, we just read through the book of Numbers where the people rebelled against God and Moses 7 times. 7 times. They totally, completely failed and rebelled against God and Moses. Oh, yeah, and those who are all 58 years and older besides Moses, Joshua, and Caleb at this time are dead. Yes, because Aaron already died. Moses is about to. This is the last words of Moses. And then it'll just be Caleb and Joshua older than 58. They all died in these testings where they failed or they died of old age when they passed the test. He humbled you, causing you to hunger, and then feeding you with manna. Oh, we are going to get that part. Okay, we got the recap of everything. It didn't include the manna part. Now we're getting it. Which neither you nor your ancestors had known, to teach you that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Isn't that fascinating? The reason God gave you manna was so that you know you don't live on bread alone. Your clothes did not wear out, and your feet did not swell during the 40 years. That is a funny statement. Your feet didn't swell. Why would your feet swell? You're in the desert. You're wandering around. Yeah. Maybe some other deficiencies of water and minerals and other things would cause swelling in the desert. Didn't happen. Know that in your heart, that as a man disciples his son, so the Lord your God disciplines, as a man disciplines his son, so the Lord God disciplines you. Observe the command. Look at how many times have we heard observe, observe, observe. Wow. Observe the commands of the Lord your God, walking in obedience with him and revering him. I think this is a second reference to walking. It is your way of life. For the Lord your God is bringing you into the land with brooks, streams, and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, a land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey, a land which bread will not be scarce, and you will lack nothing, a land where the rocks are iron, and you can dig copper out of the hills. Okay, this I think is the first description other than a land flowing with milk and honey that is describing what's in the land. I know we got grapes when they explored the land and some other things, but here, a land with brooks and streams and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, wheat, barley, vines, fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey. Bread will not be scarce, you'll not lack anything, and the rocks are iron, and you can dig copper out of the hills. When you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. Be careful that you do not forget that the Lord your God, failing to observe his command, his laws, and his decrees that I am giving you to this day. So the way that this keeps saying, giving you this day, giving you this day, giving you this day, this is like one speech of Moses. This is like one speech of Moses. It's his final speech. It is the culmination of everything we've done, and you're going to go into the land, and it's my farewell address. It is Moses' farewell address, the whole book. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build fine houses and settle down, and when your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold increase, and you have and all you have is multiplied, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Okay, so we could go look at Job for a minute, and the thought of Job would be that, wow, all of these things were true of him, that God multiplied all these things, and his heart would have become proud, and he would have forgot God. He did not. He did not. He led you through the vast and dreadful wilderness, the thirsty and waterless land, with its venomous snakes and scorpions. He brought you water out of a hard rock. He gave you manna to eat in the wilderness, something your ancestors had never known, to humble and test you, so that in the end it might go well with you. You may say to yourself, my power and my strength of my hand have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors, as it is today. There we have that phrase again, as it is today. And I love this phrase. Remember the Lord your God, for he gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant. Your ability, not your success at doing it. I mean, if you have wealth, he gave you the ability. That confirms the covenant. But it was the ability you have to create it. The ability you have to create it is what proves and confirms his covenant. If, if you ever forget the Lord your God and follow other gods and worship and bow down to them, I testify. Okay, so Moses called in the sun, moon, and stars, the earth, to testify against you if you leave God. Now he says, I testify against you, that you will surely be destroyed. Like the nations the Lord destroyed before you, so you will be destroyed for not obeying the Lord your God. Hear, Israel, you are now about to cross the Jordan to go in and dispossess nations greater and stronger than you, with large cities that have walls up to the sky. Okay. You just want to find places where you go, this is not meant to be literal. This is not meant to be literal as we read through it. This is literature. This is storytelling. Why does it say walls up to the sky? Because we need to have our ancestors later, as we're telling the story, know the difficulty and the scope of what we were facing. So, for instance, if I were to describe a impenetrable barrier today, I would probably talk about razor wire. I'd probably have razor wire be part of the description of it. Like, just think of a demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, and you might even have a minefield as a barrier that you would throw in there. So if you talk about having to cross over the fence with razor wire and make your way through the minefield to be able to go from one place to another, it would convey in today's language the difficulty of it. So in the language of the day, walls to the sky is a way of describing the height is insurmountable. The height is insurmountable. You're not going over the walls to attack the city. It will not happen. Okay. The people are strong and tall. Anakites. You know about them, and you have heard it said, who can stand against the Anakites? But be assured today that the Lord your God is the one who goes across ahead of you like a devouring fire. He will destroy them. He will subdue them before you. And you will drive them out and annihilate them quickly, as the Lord has promised you. After the Lord your God has driven them out before you, do not say to yourself, the Lord has brought me here to take possession of this land because of my righteousness. No, it is on account of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is going to drive them out before you. It is not because of your righteousness or your integrity that you are going to take possession of the land, but on account of the wickedness of these nations. The Lord your God will drive them out before you to accomplish what he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob. Understand then that it is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this land to possess, for you are a stiff-necked people. You're not righteous. You're not righteous. It's not because of righteousness. It's not your righteousness. No, you're stiff-necked people. It's because of their wickedness. Their time is up. Oh, we are going to get the golden calf. Okay, so notice how we have the whole journey story. You're about to go in, and as you're about to go in, I'm going to remind you to obey all the things that God has done. Now I'm going to tell you about when you done messed up, Aaron. Okay. Remember this, and never forget how you aroused the anger of the Lord your God in the wilderness from the day you left Egypt until you arrived here. You have been rebellious against the Lord. At Horeb you aroused the Lord's wrath, so that he was angry enough to destroy you. When I went up on the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenant that the Lord had made with you, I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread and I drank no water. The Lord gave me 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God. On them were all the commandments that the Lord proclaimed to you on the mountain out of the fire on the day of the assembly. We had those earlier, but we didn't get the story. You done messed up, Aaron, exactly. Which the golden calf story really is the story of you done messed up, Aaron. I'm just saying. At the end of the 40 days and the 40 nights, the Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets and the tablets of the covenant. Then the Lord told me, go down from here at once, because your people, whom you brought out of Egypt, have become corrupt. Notice when we looked at this before, I pointed that out too. This is like parents. When your kid is naughty, you tell the other parent, it's your son, it's your daughter, and you need to go handle this situation. God is telling Moses, it's your people, not my people. And I didn't bring them out of Egypt, you did. They have turned away quickly from what I commanded them and have made an idol for themselves. And the Lord said to me, I have seen this people, and they are a stiff-necked people indeed. Let me alone, so that I may destroy them and blot out their name from under heaven, and I will make you into a nation stronger and more numerous than them. So I turned and went down from the mountain while it was ablaze with fire, and the 2 tablets of the covenant were in my hand. When I looked, I saw that you had sinned against the Lord your God. You had made yourself an idol cast in the shape of a calf. You had turned aside quickly from the way the Lord had commanded you. So I took the 2 tablets and I threw them out of my hands, breaking them to pieces before your eyes. Bum, bum, bum. Archie Bible nerd. Hey, the people you gave me sound so familiar. That woman you gave me. Oh, ooh, I hadn't caught that reference or that connotation. The, ooh, ooh, that's interesting, Artsy. That's an interesting connection. I like that. I like that. Then once again I fell prostrate before the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread and drank no water because of all the sin you had committed, doing what was evil in the Lord's sight, and so arousing his anger. I feared the anger and the wrath of the Lord, for he was angry enough with you to destroy you. But again, the Lord listened to me, and the Lord was angry enough with Aaron to destroy him. But at that time I prayed for Aaron too. Also, I took that sinful thing of yours, the calf you made, and I burned it in the fire. Then I crushed it and ground it into powder and a fine dust, and threw the dust into the stream that flowed down the mountain. You also made the Lord angry at Tabar, at Massa, and at Kibath Hattav. Okay, so 3 more. And when the Lord sent you out of Kadesh Barnea, he said, go up and take possession of the land I have given you. But you rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You did not trust him or obey him. You have been rebellious against the Lord ever since I have known you. I lay prostrate before the Lord those 40 days and 40 nights because the Lord had said he would destroy you. I prayed to the Lord and said, Sovereign Lord, do not destroy your people, your own inheritance that you redeemed by your great power and brought out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember your servant Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Overlook the stubbornness of this people, their wickedness and sin. Otherwise, the country from which you brought us will say, because the Lord was not able to take them into the land he promised them, and because he hated them, he brought them out to put them to death in the wilderness. But they are your people, your inheritance, that you brought out by your great power and your outstretched arm. At that time the Lord said to me, chisel out of 2 stones tablets like the first ones, and come up to me on the mountain. So we have God's finger talked about in the first one. Now we don't have whether or not Moses chiseled out the tablets or the finger of God, but we have the finger of God wrote on the tablets. So did the finger of God break them off in the first place? Don't have explanation of that. I'm just wondering, because here we say chisel 2 tablets and bring them. Also make a wooden ark. Yeah, also make an ark. I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first one, which you broke. Then you are to put them in the ark. Oh, this says God will write on the tablets. Okay. So I made the ark of acacia wood and chiseled out 2 stone tablets like the first ones. And I went up the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. The Lord wrote on these 2 tablets what had been written before, the 10 commandments he had proclaimed to you on the mountain, out of the fire, on the day of the assemble, and the Lord gave them to me. Then I came back down the mountain and put the tablets in the ark I had made, and as the Lord commanded me, and they are there now. Okay. For some reason, and maybe one of the other texts, like the Numbers or the Exodus accounts, sounds like Moses chisels the words on the second one, as opposed to he just chisels the tablets and the finger of God writes on them. I had thought that the finger of God wrote on the first set and Moses wrote on the second, but I might be confusing some things or conflating, because maybe the 2 stories tell it differently. The Israelites traveled from the wells of Bene Jaakan to Mesorah. There Aaron died and was buried, and Eleazar his son succeeded him as priest. From there they traveled to Gudgoda, wow, and to Jothbatha, a land with streams of water. At that time the Lord set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord, to minister, and to pronounce blessings in his name, as they still do today. There we go, as we still do today. Wow, that's interesting. Part of the role of the priest is to pronounce blessings. You're supposed to be speaking blessings over people. Wow. This is why the Levites have no share in the inheritance among their fellow Israelites. The Lord is their inheritance, as the Lord your God told them. Okay, I just wanted to, I don't remember this name showing up before. Gudgoda. So what chapter is we in? We're in 10, I believe. I believe we're in 10. Yeah, we're in 10. So 10:7. Bum. Oh, a couple fast forwards here. Okay, 10:7. We got some names. What doth they mean? Gudgoda.
Strong's H
Gudgoda.
1412. Gidgad.
Well, I don't know how he's doing two syllables there, and it's showing me it's 3 syllables. The slashing place. Ooh, we went to the slashing place.
Strong's H 3193.
Yotbata.
Yotbasa.
Pleasantness. Oh. So from there we traveled to the slashing place and on to the pleasant place. Or on to pleasantness. We went from the slashing place to pleasantness. That's beautiful. So, like a bad place to a good place. We moved on. The land of streams of water. Wow. That's cool. Ad starts in 5 minutes. Okay. Now I had stayed in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, as I did the first time. The Lord listened to me at this time also. It was not his will to destroy you. Go, the Lord said to me, and lead this people on their way, so that they may enter and possess the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you? Ooh, here's the great question. And now, Israel, what does the Lord God ask of you? You're going to go into land. What does God ask of you? But to fear the Lord your God. Walk in obedience. It's got to be at least the third time we've got to walk in obedience with him. To love him. Okay, say. Fear the Lord your God. Walk in obedience with him. Love him. Serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. And to observe the Lord's commands and decrees that I am giving you today for your own good. 5 things. The Torah, 5 things. Torah, you have fear the Lord, obedience to him, love him, serve him, and observe the Lord's commands and decrees. That's just cool. The Lord your God to the Lord your God belongs the heaven, even the highest heavens, the earth and everything in it. Yet the Lord set his affection on your ancestors and loved them, and he chose you, their descendants, above all nations, as it is today. I wonder how many times that's repeated. It's got to be 4 or 5. Circumcise your hearts. This is not a new phrase for the New Testament. This is from Moses. Circumcise your hearts. Therefore, and do not be a stiff-necked any longer. For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, the great God, mighty and awesome, who shows no partiality and accepts no bribes. He defends the cause of the fatherless, the widow, loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. Oh, what? Wait. Defends the cause of the fatherless, the widow, and he loves the foreigner residing among you. The poor, the widow, the orphan, and the foreigner. Those are the four people. We've got 3 of those 4 right here. We've got 3 of those 4. Wait, circumcision, your heart, and Deuteronomy. Yeah, North Hill. It's here. It's here. Yes, he's getting that. Like, before you go in the land, you need to circumcise your hearts. Where was that at? I just covered it. I don't know. I have a hard time going back and finding what I just read. There it is, 16. Circumcise your hearts. 16. Deuteronomy 10:16. Yeah, never caught that? Yeah. I just, yeah. Well, and I never caught, I look for these. He defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the foreigner residing among you. God loves the foreigner residing among you. He gives them food and clothing. And you are to love those who are foreigners. For yourselves were foreigners in Egypt. I know this phrase happens again and again throughout the Old Testament. Didn't realize that Moses says it here, that you are to love those who are foreigners as they're going to go into the land. Fear the Lord your God and serve him. Hold fast to him and take your oaths in his name. He is the one you praise. He is your God who performed for you these great and awesome wonders you saw with your own eyes. Your ancestors who went down to Egypt were 70 in all. And now the Lord your God has made you as numerous as the stars of the sky. That's either the second or third time that you are as numerous as the stars of the sky, which is a fulfillment of what God said he would do. Bum, bum, bum. There we go. We have gotten 10 chapters of Deuteronomy read today, my friends. 10 chapters of Deuteronomy. Shout out to foreigners, fatherless, and widows. I know. And the number of people. So we want to go back to the 10 Commandments, and do not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And what I think is a better translation: do not represent the name of the Lord your God in vain. Therefore, how would we do that today? Proclaim the name of Christian and then do things that would not be the way that. Oh shoot! Ad break. Sorry, forgot the ad break was coming in. And Sunshine redeemed prayer time. All right, Sunshine, we'll get that when we get back from the ad. Let me throw the pond up. The cams up for the fish. So there we go. Let's take a peek outside. Let me see where the sun might be at. Okay, a girl named Anna, her family was killed in a car truck accident in Mexico. She lived and is not expected to walk. Oh, wow. All right, so we can see here there'll be probably no eclipse visible here. Well, there'll be darkness, but you won't be able to see the eclipse. That might be cool to watch. Here the sun has risen above where my cam can aim. It's right up there at the top. Right up there at the top. And, oh yeah, there's the stream room, which I need to finish working on. I did not have my nail gun. It was at my daughter's house, so I now have my nail gun. Didn't realize that to start with, and I had to buy some trim. So that should get done this week. Back over to the fishies. And we should be back. We should be back from the ads, I hope. So, anyway, we'll get prayer. We'll get prayer going. There we go. And then get back into some of the text there. So, any other prayers? Let me know. Oh, there was a comment before. What was the last comment there? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the image bearing and bearing the name of God in vain, which is the way I think it really should be interpreted. Not speaking. There are other passages that talk about profanity, so we don't need the Ten Commandments to talk about profanity. I think it is being a representative of God on the earth before other people. I represent God if I say I'm following the God of my ancestors or I'm following Jesus, whichever, Old Testament, New Testament, however you're doing that. Every act I do bears the name of the one I serve. So every act I do bears the name of Christ. And so when I denounce the poor, the widow, the orphan, and the foreigner and say, let's kick them out of the country and let's beat them down, and that is the way that then people are going to perceive followers of Jesus are like. And that is not what Jesus is like. That is not what the Old Testament teaches us. We should love the poor, the widow, the foreigner, and the orphan. The poor, the widow, the foreigner, and orphan. Yes. The fatherless, sometimes it's called. That's what we need to be doing. And we do a poor job of that. We do a poor job of that. We want to protect ours, and what's ours? Oh my goodness, we are so Pharisees. We are so Sadducees. We are the Sanhedrin, and we want to protect what's ours. And what does someone get from being all three? I missed something there. Oh, shout out to, okay. If they're all three. We were reading in the text. Temple Snail. That's where that came from. Is that the text mentioned that God loves the poor, or didn't mention the poor, the fatherless, the widow, and the foreigner. But you potentially could potentially be all three. So, to preach it, yeah. I get a little riled up on that those people give a bad name to the name of Christ. They bear the name poorly, which is the fourth commandment. They bear the name poorly. They represent poorly when they attack the poor, the widow, the foreign, and the orphan. Or the poor, the widow, the foreign, and the orphan. Why am I saying that funny? I don't know. It sounds funny in my head. Probably because I'm used to saying the poor, the widow, the foreigner, and the orphan, or something like that. I don't know. It's probably the order is sounding weird to me. Anyway, we got a prayer request, so we'll go pray for that. So, try to make sure I got the name. Anna. Okay, I was making sure it was Anna. That's what I thought you said. God, we're just gonna lift up this girl Anna, whose family was killed in an accident in Mexico, and she has survived. And she's not expected to walk. God, the tragedy of losing her family, may you bring her comfort and peace. The difficulty of living with injuries that might be ongoing, might be permanent, and wondering why at all she was allowed to survive. God, may you just show up in her life in a strong and a mighty way. Bring healing, bring restoration, bring your peace. Allow her to grieve and to grieve well and to mourn the loss, because it is a real loss, and allow her body to recover, and allow her to recover both mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally from this event that has taken place. Give her strength. I don't know if she's from and will stay in Mexico or if she's in the U.S., but wherever she's at, may you give wisdom to the doctors and discernment for all who are providing care for her as she recovers. May she be drawn close into your presence, held in your arms, surrounded by your angels, and know that she is loved. God, for anyone else that may be in that case of far from you, injured, hurt, feeling lost, isolated, alone, God, may you just show up, bring your peace, make your face to shine upon them, and give them rest. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, thank you for the follow. The Happy Irishman. The Happy Irishman. Welcome in, friend. Welcome in. All right, let's take a look at Deuteronomy 11, which will be tomorrow's reading. But if we get into that, that allows us to just take and hit the book of Luke tomorrow. So we'll be a little bit out of sequence, which is what I've been doing lately, because I like reading longer sections than read a little here, little here, little here. I just think I get more out of it when I read bigger things. Happy Irishman. What's up, man? We met briefly. Oh, that's right. We did at NCMS. had lunch at the faux place with a few others. That's right. That's right. Welcome in, my friend. Welcome in. How have you been? I have been incredibly busy and blessed, and I bet you have as well since NCMS. And I'm hoping there's some announcements coming out soon about this year's NCMS. I need it on my calendar so I can block that off and get ready for it. So, welcome in, friend. Love the Lord your God and keep his requirements, his decrees, his laws, his commands always. Okay, there we have 4. Requirements, decrees, laws, and commands. We had stipulations in an earlier one, so I'm not doing a word study on all of those, but you could. And are they synonyms or are they distinctive? Are there differences between? I'm not worried about if there's differences or distinctions when we're listed all together. But they are the things that will bless me. They are the way of wisdom. They are the way of blessing. There'll be an announcement very soon. Yep, super stoked. I know. I keep hearing it's coming, and I keep waiting. And I bet you would have an inside scoop on that, too. We also have Reach 5K, which is coming up. And I'm still trying to figure out when I'm going to be doing the alpha. I need to figure out the best time and date for me to run that. So, still got to figure it out. Hopefully by the end of the week I'll have that done. Remember today that your children were not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of the Lord your God, his majesty, his mighty hand, his outstretched arm, the signs he performed, and the things he did in the heart of Egypt, both to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to his whole country. Okay, wait. I want to count how many there were. They're not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of God. Okay. His majesty, his mighty hand, his outstretched arm, the signs he performed, and the things he did in the heart of Egypt. 5 things there mentioned. Torah, again, 5 things. Okay. What he did to the Egyptian army, to its horses and its chariots, how he overwhelmed them with the waters of the sea of reeds as they were pursuing you, and how the Lord brought lasting ruin on them. Yeah, you're dead. That's kind of lasting ruin. It was not your children who saw what he did for you in the wilderness until you arrived at this place, and what he did in Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, the Reubenite, with the earth opened its mouth right in the middle of all the Israelites and swallowed them up with their household, their tents, and everything that belonged to them. But it was your eyes that saw all these things the Lord has done. So, okay, those of you who are the fathers and mothers who are 58 years old and younger, you were alive and bore witness to these things. Your children did not. Remember, you saw them. You saw the rebellious people, and they're all dead. Let me remind you of some of the big ones. Observe, therefore. So what God did to the Egyptians, what he did among you. You weren't excluded when you rebelled. Observe, therefore, all the commands I am giving you today, so that you may have the strength to go in and take over the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess, and so that you may live long in the land the Lord swore to your ancestors to give to them and to their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. The land you are entering to take over is not like the land of Egypt from which you have come, where you planted your seeds and irrigated it by foot, as in a vegetable garden. But the land you are crossing the Jordan to take possession is a land, is a land of mountains and valleys that drinks rain from heaven. It is a land the Lord your God cares for. The eyes of the Lord your God are continually on it from the beginning of the year to its end. So if, if you faithfully obey the commands I am giving you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and your soul, Then I will send rain on the land in its season, both autumn and spring rains, so that you may gather in your grain, new wine, and olive oil. I will provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied. Be careful, or you will be enticed to turn away and worship other gods and bow down to them. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will shut up the heavens so that, look at how many so that's there are in here. It will not rain, and the ground will not yield produce, and you will soon perish from the good land that the Lord is giving you. Fix these words of mine on your heart and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on their forehead. Returning back to Deuteronomy 6. So maybe there's a chiastic structure within all these chapters. Teach them to your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the door frames of your house and your gates, so that your days and the days of your children may be many in the land the Lord God swore to give your ancestors, as many as the days that the heavens are above the earth. Wow, so we return to the Shema. It's there again. If you carefully observe all these commands I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience with him, and to hold fast to him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will dispossess nations larger and stronger than you. Every place that you set your foot will be yours. Your territory will be extended from the desert to Lebanon and from the Euphrates River to the Mediterranean Sea. No one will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God, as he promised you, will put the terror and the fear of you in the whole land wherever you go. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. The curse, if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God and turn from the way, that's a way of life, that I command you today by following other gods which you have not known. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land you are entering to possess, you are to proclaim on Mount Gerizim the blessings, and on Mount Ebal the curses. This is so cool. This is some of the oldest stuff we've ever found archaeologically of writing in Hebrew is on one of these mountains where people wrote, and it'd be like on a little tablet, like a sticky note, and they wrote curses, and they'd have been like on pottery, not on a sticky note, not on paper, but like a pottery, that they had blessings and curses up on the tops of the mountains. As you know, these mountains are across the Jordan westward toward the setting sun, near the great trees of Morah, in the territory of the Canaanites, living in the Arabah, in the vicinity of Gilgal. You are about to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you. When you have taken it over and are living there, be sure you obey all the decrees and the laws I am setting before you today. Bum. Okay. I just feel like I just want to keep going. Like it's like this is one speech. This is like one speech. These are the decrees and the laws you must be careful to follow in the land that the Lord, the God of your ancestors, has given you to possess. Like, are you hearing the echo of these things? These phrases just keep echoing again and again and again. As long as you live in the land, destroy completely all the places on the high mountains, on the hills, and under every spreading tree where the nations you are dispossessing worship their gods. Destroy all places of worship. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and burn their Asherah poles in fire. Cut down the idols of their gods and wipe out their names from those places. You destroy them by wiping out their names. Like you get rid of everything that connects them. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way, but you are to seek the place the Lord your God will choose from among all your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling. To that place you must go. There bring your burnt offerings and sacrifices, your tithes and special gifts. what you have vowed to give, and your freewill offerings, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks, there in the presence of the Lord your God. You and your family shall eat and rejoice in everything you have put your hand to, because the Lord your God has blessed you. You are not to do as we do here today. What? You're not to do as we do here today? Everyone doing as they see fit. Oh, since you have not yet reached the resting place of the inheritance of the land your God is giving you, but you will cross the Jordan and settle in the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and he will give you rest from all the enemies around you, so that you will live in safety. Notice another so that. Lucis, if 5 represents the Torah for the Jewish people, and lucis means light in Spanish. So my name means shining lights of the Torah. That's a new meaning to my name. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Shining lights of the Torah. Yeah, and it's not an equal correlation. Numbers are representative, so they're supposed to remind you to think of things like, oh, there's 5. Oh, there's 7. Oh, there's 6. Oh, there's. They point to. So I emphasize them because most people don't emphasize them, so you're not paying attention to. I probably overemphasize in some places where that might not be necessary to, oh, let's count these things. But I do it as a matter of habit and practice so that I can go, maybe there is a connection there. Because like we had 11 earlier today to start with. I don't know that 11 means anything, but 11 was mentioned, and then 11 showed up again, and I go, oh, are we going to find something else? No. We have not seen anything else with 11 since the first chapter. It mentioned 11 twice, and then we've got nothing with 11. I don't know what 11 has any symbolism. I was just curious. I looked for it, found nothing. We've moved on. So, yeah. So, anyway, that's cool. I like how you're thinking there. Then the place the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name. There you are to bring everything I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and your special gifts, and all your choice possessions you have vowed to the Lord, and there rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your sons and your daughters, your male and your female servants, and the Levites from your towns, who have no allotment of inheritance of their own. Be careful not to sacrifice your burnt offerings anywhere you please. Offer them only at the place the Lord will choose in one of your tribes, and there observe everything I command you. So we're going to enter a new phase. There is going to be one place of worship. We're going to tear down every place of worship. There is going to be one place of worship. All those other places have to be destroyed. You're not going to do like you do now and wherever you want. No, there's going to be one place where God will set up in a state. Like you just hear this like, Nevertheless, you may slaughter your animals in any of your towns and eat as much of the meat as you want, as if, as if it were gazelle or deer, according to the blessing the Lord your God gives you. Both the ceremonially ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat it. Oh, okay. So, in your towns, a ceremonially unclean person can eat of an animal you kill. So, it's not an animal for a sacrifice when it's in your town. It's not there you can eat. Okay, got it. But you must not eat the blood, pour it out on the ground like water. You must not eat in your own towns the tithe of your grain and new wine and olive oil, or the firstborn of your herds and flocks, or whatever you have vowed to give, or your freewill offerings, or your special gifts. Instead, you are to eat them in the presence of the Lord your God at the place the Lord your God will choose. Yeah, did you catch that? The gifts that you give in these offerings you make, you eat in the presence of God. They're not all just given to the priest. There's portions that are given to the priest. There's portions that they get to maintain. And there's portions that are part of a communal meal together when you do sacrifices. You and your sons and your daughter, your male and female servants, and the Levites from your town. And you are to rejoice before the Lord your God in everything you put your hand to. Be careful not to neglect the Levites as long as you live in your land. So, you need to include the Levites. Why? Because the Levites are getting a portion. The Levite from your town should come with you so that that Levite will be able to take the portion and celebrate with you. When the Lord your God has enlarged your territory as he promised you, and you crave meat and say, I would like some meat, then you may eat as much as you want. What? When you say you want meat, then you may eat as much as you want. Wow. If, if the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far away from you, you may slaughter animals from the herd and the flock the Lord has given you, as I have commanded you, and in your own towns you may eat as much of them as you want. Eat them as you would gazelle or deer. Both the ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat it. But be sure you do not eat the blood, because the blood is the life, and you must not eat the life with the meat. You must not eat the blood. Pour it on the ground like water. Do not eat it, so that it might go well with you and your children after you, because you will be doing what is right in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, and I think some of this, the blood being poured on the ground, goes back to Cain and Abel, and the blood of your brother cries out to me from the ground. So we return the blood to the ground, because we were made from the dust, and to dust we shall return. So the blood is the life. It returns to the ground and returns. I think there's some stuff going on symbolically there, but we don't need to dig any deeper into that. But take your consecrated things and whatever you have vowed to give, and go to the place the Lord will choose. Present your burnt offerings on the altar of the Lord your God, both the meat and the blood. The blood of your sacrifice must be poured besides the altar of the Lord your God. But you may eat the meat. Be careful to obey all the regulations I am giving you, so that it may always go well with you and your children after you, because you will be doing what is good and right in the eyes of the Lord your God. The Lord your God will cut off before you the nations you are about to invade and dispossess. But when you have driven them out and settled in their land, and after they have been destroyed before you, be careful not to be ensnared by inquiring about their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? We will do the same. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way, because in worshiping their gods, they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters in the fire as sacrifices to their gods. See that you do all I command you. Do not add to it or take away from it. I think that's the second time we've had that phrase. Oh, we just have the text variant of chapter divisions there. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pause on this. We're not going to go to the 13, because we're going to get into prophets. We're going to get into prophets, so that'll take us some more time and conversation. Okay, so let me just go here. Oh, sorry. Go here and add. I know we did Deut 11, so I will put that in there. I don't know. Well, why do you do that to me? I don't know why it does this. It keeps wanting to switch this doc from one account to another account. I'll put it here just in case there's a couple of Luke passages. 11. And we'll probably do 12 tomorrow. So now I can cross off. We read all that today. We did 11 chapters of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy. So I know, a lot of repetition, a lot of review. So tomorrow we'll be in Luke 12 and Probs 13, and we'll get into that. So, any thoughts, questions on all of that? It's Moses saying, hey, you're going into the land. Let's recount everything. Let's recount everything. Let's not forget anything. Let's not forget anything. And when we get up to Deuteronomy 32, that will be a lengthy discussion, no doubt, when we get there. So, anyway, good stuff, everyone. Good stuff. Oh, like I mentioned earlier, I will be taking a peek and seeing whether or not. Let me just look a minute, if I can even see. Yeah, it looks like the sky is clear enough that I probably can watch the. So I probably can watch the eclipse. I won't be a full total eclipse at my house, but I may be setting up cams and streaming that when we get closer. So I would say look for 2 EST as a possible time of doing that. And like right now, I just feel like I have a lot of things going on, a lot of things to get done, and a lot of stuff to prep for. I'm not feeling like BG3 right now. So not going to be playing BG3 today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Maybe I'll do it next week. But right now, I just feel like, yeah, not feeling it. I want to get the stream room up more than I want to worry about playing Baldur's Gate at this time. So we got a bunch of Deuteronomy. I'm really excited about that. That was good. That was some good stuff. Caught some new things in there. So, yeah, like the circumcision of the heart there was a pretty cool thing. You have an app called Skyview Lite for eclipse viewing. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, are you in the path of total eclipse, Artsy? I know it's going up over Nova Scotia, so you might be close to the full path, but I don't know whether you'll have access to see it or not. And what time is that going to be for you? I'm going to guess maybe 3:30 or 4. I don't know. Oh, there was something else that I heard the other day, and I go, oh, Artsy Bible Nerd would appreciate that. Now I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh. Okay, so, Artsy. You're not. It's in the path in the totality. You'll see 90%. Okay, cool. So, the word for the coat that Joseph gets is the same word that is used for the priest garments, and is also the word used for the garments that God makes for Adam and Eve. It's not the normal word for clothing. It is the one used for Joseph. But it is the one that's used for the garments that God makes for Adam and Eve, and then it is the garments that are made for the priests. I heard that on a podcast, Two Trees podcast. So that might be something you want to jump on and do a little more exploring in what that word has in connotation and where it's used. And I thought that was cool. I did not know that. I like studying name words that have meanings behind them. I haven't done a lot of study on other things. So I pick those up from other people, like word, breath, spirit, or spirit, wind, and breath, all as the same word in Hebrew. And so I like playing with the, would breath fit here rather than wind? Would spirit fit here rather than breath? And playing with those, both in the Greek and the Hebrew, which is odd that the same word has 3 meanings in Greek and the same word has 3 meanings in Hebrew, and it's the same 3 from one language to another. That's an oddity. Okay, anyway, let's find somebody to raid today. So, who can we go and raid? Oh, I don't think I've gone to Nice Ann in a while. We could go there. A lot of these others I think I have raided. So I have not seen her in a while. Let's go over there. Yeah, there's still plenty of people I like to raid. And, let me put it this way. All right. Let me get a blessing in on everybody. Like I said, I might do just a cams setup stream or setup later with cams from different views looking at that, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Sunshine, yeah, have a good day. Thank you. You too, friend. So let me give you a blessing. May God seek and comfort find you. May his loving arms bind you. May his might protect you. May his wisdom direct you. May the joyous love of Jesus Christ be with you and all those you know, both now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I will be posting some stuff for the Discovery Bible, or I should say the Discord Bible study, which will be, I'll post a video, you react to the video, either in chat or in a video response, and we will start doing that throughout the week. And then the next week we'll pick the next passage. So I started last week to slow roll this, so we're doing John 1, 1 through 18. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. So that's over there. I'll get another VOD over there today, reading through that, sharing that, having you react and respond to that. And hopefully we can get some good conversation going. I also need to figure out when we will be doing Alpha. And I'm trying to figure out what works best. So I'm going to be doing that. So I'll stream the material, and then we'll go to Discord for deeper discussion. So hoping to get 50 people showing up. Hoping to get 50 people. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best time. What's the best time I can get that? So thank you all. What a blessing to have you all here today. Thank you very much. Loved the discussion. Loved hanging out. Let's go. Let's bless others. Oh, let me get my raid commands. Dun, dun, dun.
Deuteronomy. That's amazing. Deuteronomy. So you did a verse reading.